Hello and welcome to our game here on a Thursday. Myself, Shane Stapleton, as ever, joined by Michael Verney. There's some amount of stuff going on this weekend, but look, before we get into all of that, we might as well remind you that coming up in just a couple of days' time is going to be an unbelievable coaching clinic up in St. Gall's in Belfast. Malachy O'Rourke, Peter Donnelly and Conleth Gilligan. And it is gas, though, that Malachy O'Rourke and Conleth Gilligan could yet end up playing against each other in an Ulster Club final with Kilcoo and Glen. But they're going to both be here. They're going to be collaborating. It's going to be a brilliant event. It's £30. If you're in Moneygall on Monday, which is only a hen's kick from Clare, from Limerick, from Offaly, different parts of Tipperary, Kilkenny, the whole lot. Paddy Stapleton, Niall Moran, Eddie Brennan, they're all going to be there. Under 14s are free at both of these events. So I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking, Michael, right? So you've got North Tipperary teams in the senior final this weekend in Tipperary. You've got Killadangan and Killerwan. Both of them are a hen's kick from Moneygall. They wake up on the Monday morning. They're thinking, what will we do with the kids? We're hungover after the match. We'll take them down to Moneygall there, bring the kids in for nothing. Moneygall are against Laura then in the intermediate final, also on Sunday. Same job, head down to St. Flannan's Park and watch an old coaching clinic. Going to be great stuff.
Well, you said Moneygall's only a hen's kick from Offaly. Moneygall is, in fact, in Offaly, obviously.
Well, some of it.
But it's obviously very close. It's, a spin up the motorway from Clare, spin up the motorway from Limerick, and the three lads there are going to put on a great show, no doubt. Just like the lads put on in Ace last weekend, and the show or the clinic in UCD a couple of weeks before that. Some great stuff coming out of it, great nuggets for aspiring coaches and even aspiring players to take with them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm going to play a little bit of Mike Casey. He was fantastic the other day. If you want to see the full video, it's at patreon.com/OurGame. But here's a 2-minute little clip.
The full bench from under 6s to under 10s, hand passing the ball 5 yards to a man in the corner, and then all of a sudden there's another fella running at him with a stick in their hand going, what in God's name is going on here? Okay? And down in Limerick, a games-based approach is definitely the buzzword, right? It's definitely a buzzword, right? In terms of everyone's wanting to use it. We all know why lads are wanting to use it, and it looks like it's working, right? So, myself and the brother were involved in a team for 4 years, as I said earlier on, and we decided to adopt this approach to see, not as an experiment, but just to see, can it work with underage kids that are 10 years of age? Can they grasp it? And to be honest with you, we played a county final about 3 weeks ago, and we had about a block of 3 weeks where they were all back from sunny Kilkee. It was brilliant. We had a full cohort, and we were able to do and replicate sessions that we would do with Limerick, and they were put in the worst case scenarios. And by the time we got them to 15, their awareness of what was going on was absolutely incredible, right? And for me, a game-based approach is that you need to be able to make decisions on the hurling field. It's an instinctive game, and you have to be able to make a decision. If I'm 10 yards away on a cone, am I making any decisions at all? No? Have I made any decision? I've been told where to go, I've been told what to do, and then I've been told to sit at the back of the line. Now, yes, there are 100%, if you need to really zone in on an aspect of the game, yes, you have to bring it back to brass tacks, 100%, right? But then there are also areas that you can try and progress, and even if it breaks down, if you can get 1 pass, 2 pass.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, he was absolutely brilliant, and it kind of changed some of my thinking in terms of hurling preparation and what teams should be doing. Really, really good stuff from Mike, and there'll be more clips appearing in coming weeks, and also from Richie Power and Dan Shanahan. Michael Verney, we've got a couple of stars lined up for the show today as well.
We surely do, yeah. Delighted to have Tony Considine on board. Tony was obviously heavily involved in the 2 Clare successes in 95 and 97. And he was over Kilmallock last year, and brought them all the way to the Munster final. So great to have him on board talking about the Limerick final. And we have Jack Savage as well, obviously an All-Ireland winner with Kerry, and he'll have fairly intimate knowledge of the Kerry club scene, given that his own club, Cairns O'Reilly's, won the club title last weekend and are going to represent Kerry and Munster. I'm sure he'll have a bit to say about the stacks going down and how cutthroat the Kerry Championship is as well. But two two brilliant guests to have on board today.
Yeah, and Davy Burke has taken over the Roscommon job, a 3-year deal there. Mark McHugh is going to join him as a coach, obviously a Donegal All-Star in 2012. And, we know Davy pretty well from having him on the show. He did that podcast with Enda Varley for us during the summer, which was just a roller coaster. That was the only way I could call every one of those podcasts, an absolute roller coaster. But he's going to be in Connacht next year. It's going to be, they're on a tough side of the draw, starting off with Mayo. Galway, I'm pretty sure, are on the same side of the draw. So he's going to get nothing easy there. And then also, he obviously wasn't taken up for the Kildare job. They went with, the big star-studded lineup with Glen Ryan and so on. But he's gone into the Division 1 instead.
Yeah, he's looking in at his native county, who there's no point in saying any different. He was overlooked for that star-studded team. Now he's going to Division 1 and Kildare in Division 2. I think probably his biggest challenge would be trying to make sure or try and prevent, Roscommon from yo-yoing. They've yo-yoed a lot up and down from Division 1 to 2 and back up, vice versa. But he's got plenty to work with there. Probably, just outside that Kerry, Dublin, Mayo, Tyrone kind of 4 maybe that have dominated over the last, the guts of the last, 7 or 8 years. But not far off. Great chance, obviously, winning Connacht. They're always going to be in the mix in Connacht. And Davy's done a lot already in his managerial career. I think he some serious injuries in his youth, which meant he had to stop playing football. He ended up over the Confi ladies. He obviously won the All-Ireland with Kildare under 20s in 2018, a county title with Sarsfields in 19. Made great strides with Wicklow in 20 and 21, and they ended up getting promoted from Division 4. The first time to be promoted in a long time. And yeah, how much football Davy digests. Davy just lives and breathes it, and is not shy of an opinion on what football he likes to see played and what way he likes to see football played. So to me, I think Roscommon, it took 12 weeks, but I think they've gotten a very good man in Davy Burke, and it's going to be fascinating to see. How they progress.
Absolutely. Because anyone I've spoken to, having seen him again at the coaching clinic last week in Longford and just watch him and the way he started off with a drill, which was a self-contained thing, and then build it out into something that developed across the field, and you could see how this would work in a game. I just thought that was great and thought that's a really good sign of what Roscommon are going to get.
Yeah, Richard Hogan puts up an interesting comment there. Is Enda Varley going in with him? Who knows? You never know. He obviously has Mark in it, who's done quite a bit of coaching, and I know he does an awful lot of commentary for
Ocean FM.
Yeah, Ocean FM. Yeah, he's got his finger on the pulse, particularly on the Donegal games. His dad was obviously an inter-county manager as well. His own inter-county career probably finished a bit earlier than most would think it should have had, but he definitely has his finger on the pulse there too. It'll be interesting to see what locals they get, what sort of local knowledge they get, and obviously a big part of it as well is to see all the backroom team, S&C, and all the various bits and pieces. But Davy lives and breathes it, and I remember him talking before about when he was with Wicklow about how he would never think twice about going watching someone doing a gym session at 6:30, but maybe he wouldn't think about doing stuff himself. Then he's all encompassing on the team that he's with. And yeah, obviously very modern coach, modern manager. So it's going to be fascinating to see what he brings to them.
Yeah, and McHugh, he was coach to the Donegal senior ladies this year. He also coached Fermanagh minor and under 20. And also Burke, as well as managing Wicklow and the under 20s in Kildare to an All-Ireland title. He also is the current manager of the Maynooth Sigerson team. So obviously he's plenty of experience there. And I believe he even knows some of the younger Roscommon players because of that.
Yeah. Flash is back, by the way, folks. Great to see him back.
Where have you been, Flash? What's been going on?
Hope all as well. And he just says not only the Sunday game, but now our game losing contributors to the inter-county game. That's the caliber of people we have involved here. So it's listen, it's great to see, and we'll be following Roscommon very, very closely. I just always thought it fascinating. Anytime we had Davy on, he had literally seen every bit of football that was possible to see. It was never, I only caught the highlights of that. It was, I'd probably seen the whole game, even, and I remember him vividly talking about Roscommon games that he didn't have to watch or anything like that. Far from it, but he's a student of the game, wants to learn, and I'm sure it'd be interesting to get Davy's hours and what sort of hours he's putting into it, because I'd say they will be colossal, because he doesn't leave any stone unturned, in fairness to him.
Yeah, I'd say he's not a manager that just knows his players. He knows the colour of their knickers. He knows everything there is to know about these players.
Well, I'd be worried if any of them were wearing knickers now either, to be honest with you.
It's a turn of phrase. It's like when a manager says to you, if your man goes for a whittle out in the next field, you're to be there beside him holding it. That sort of exaggerated talk.
I tell you what I always liked as well, how I like old school in particular, how shorts in the GA are referred to as nicks. It's a real old school one.
Yeah, I like that as well. There seems to be a ceiling in Roscommon they can't get past. Winning Division 2 and a Connacht title seems to be the best they can do. That's ML89. So it'll be interesting to see if Davy can take them that bit further. I do find that they've got great talent, like really exciting forwards, the Smiths, the Murtas. There are classy players in the county there. So it'll be interesting to see if he can take them that bit further. Flash says, a busy man I am lately. He said I'd try and tune in for a bit today with the Limerick hurling final this weekend. Yeah, we're looking forward to Tony Considine being on the show. Fair to say he's a straight shooter.
He definitely is a straight shooter, and we'll ask him about. He mightn't particularly be up with modern technologies and things like that, and I'm interested to see how he manages in the modern game and with modern players. Given that, I don't think he's on WhatsApp and he doesn't have a smartphone, so I love that type of thing. I think you need to stay to your roots if that's the way if that's kind of what floats your boat, then so be it. But it'll be interesting to see. I wonder, does he have a person doing all that for him? But I'm sure we'll find out.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the football all-stars with Jack Savage a little bit later on. Obviously, he was close to these Kerry players that won 7 between them over the course of the season. And the all-star hurling then, Mikey Butler or Sean Finn for you? I mean, we've been debating this for quite a while.
Yeah, I don't know, Shane. I don't think it's that much of a debate. I'll be straight with you. I put it this way. I think Sean Finn is the best cornerback in the country and one of the best cornerbacks of all time. But was he the best cornerback in 2022? And that's what the All-Stars judge. It's a year in a vacuum. And it's not a case of, Mikey Butler's 22. He'll get an All-Star next year. Or, sure, he'll get a couple more or whatever. No, I think Mikey Butler was the best man-marking cornerback in the game in 2022. I thought he was brilliant against Galway. He was obviously brilliant against Clare. He did good All-Ireland final. I'd say he hardly put a foot wrong all year. And to me, his performances in 2022, for looking at 2022 alone, stack up better than Sean Finn's.
But and this could easily happen. He is a player that did kind of go out the field to man-mark players at different times as well. So he could easily be shunted out to a half-back line. Now, who that shunts out of the team, I don't know. But it's a tough one. A couple of months ago, we looked at it with Kieran Kerry and Richie Power, so they made their picks. So you can check out that video.
Well, Shane, I'd have less of a problem with that. If he shunted out a team completely, I'd have a big issue, to be honest with you, because I think, and there's the notion of that he's nominated for Young Hurler of the Year as well, which is great. But just because he's probably going to get that, yeah, potentially, just because he's probably going to get that doesn't mean he shouldn't get an All-Star. He was the best. Like, if I was picking that full back line, it would be Mikey Butler, Hugh Lawler, and Barry Nash. And that's been picked as if you're playing a team in the morning. Butler and Lawler would stay inside, play the 2-man full back line, as to pick up a 2-man full forward line, as is the case in the modern game. And Nash will come out and play his role. Like, that's, if you're picking a team in the morning, that's the way you would pick it. So
Sean Finn for me.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, give me a bit more than that. Like, give me some reasons why based on 2022.
The lasting memory is that ball he won on Conor Cooney towards the end of the game against Galway in the All-Ireland semi-final. It's just, that one is really sticking out to me. It was such a vital ball, and the way he just managed to control that situation, I thought was huge. And in general, he's just ridiculously consistent, good player. And what game did he get cleaned in this year?
If I'm honest, Desi Hutchinson got 5 off him in the Gaelic grounds.
Right, you have me there. To
be honest with you, I'm not having a go at you here. I'm not.
You are.
I'm not. I just think I'd be really disappointed if a legacy. I love Sean Finn. I think he's a brilliant player, but just because he's going for 5 All-Stars in a row doesn't mean he should get this All-Star over a fella who I think hurled better than him throughout the year. And I'm not having a go. But if Mikey Butler goes out the pitch, okay, I'd be appeased by that somewhat, because he's still getting his All-Star. But if he shunted out a team because Sean Finn is the easy one to pick, I wouldn't be happy with that.
Yeah. So actually, Niall Heffernan says, "Can Mikey Butler reach the heights and do the things Finn can do?" It's early in his career, right? It doesn't feel like, because Sean Finn's obviously playing at a level that maybe nobody has played in terms of cornerback. So maybe not. I mean, not based on what we're seeing right at the moment. But like you said at the start, we're talking about 2022 in isolation.
Whether he'll be, it's interesting to see, like, when Derek Lynn comes in now, will he just be a man marking cornerback, or will he be more of a ball playing cornerback? Will they ask him to do? Will they ask him to do more than just mark a lad or just follow a guy? Niall Heffernan asked, did Desi get 5 directly off Finn? Pretty much directly. Yeah, pretty much. He obviously floated around a bit, but pretty much directly from looking back at the game. I've looked at the guts twice, I think. And obviously Desi, to be honest, I think Desi had a brilliant year in spite of his team not what was I going to say? Not performing to the levels that they would have hoped, you know.
Yeah, there was some serious drama in the Harty Cup. I mean, not only Ardscoil Risha's late winner, but down in Dungarvan as well.
Yeah, there was lots of drama, is right. So I just go through it here quickly. So ugly scenes marred yesterday's game between De La Salle and Gael Colashta of Uran Monastery in Dungarvan. So with 8 minutes left, a scuffle broke out involving mentors, players and substitutes from both sides, and one player required attention for a head injury. So referee Thomas Walsh, who we'd all know on the inter-county scene now, particularly over the last 12 months, called the 30 players into the middle of the pitch and pleaded with them to keep their discipline. So the direct quote here from Tomas McCarthy in the Examiner was, please play the game of hurling for the last 10 minutes, he said. And those 10 minutes passed off without incident and the game was completed. De La Salle won 117 to 1-8. But, Thomas Walsh had to also do the game without any, of his own linesmen or his own umpires, which is another issue. Like, it's hard enough to get a referee, let alone to get linesmen and umpires that are going to be in any way impartial. And then Thomas Walsh had an even busier evening then as well. So he was actually in goals for, pronounce it again, Shea? Modeligo, yeah. It lost me there. So they played Ballinameela in the Waterford Western Intermediate Football Final, which went all the way to penalties. And Ballinameela eventually won 5-4. They'll play Rowan Moore this Monday. A pretty quick turnaround for them, but a pretty eventful day and night for Thomas Walsh, it's fair to say.
Yeah, so this isn't him in goals now, but this is that last penalty. And it's saved lovely. I believe Thomas Walsh saved the penalty as well. So yeah, a very dramatic day at the office for him. Okay, so we've so much to talk about. There's so many county finals across the board, and we'll be welcoming on Tony Considine in a few minutes' time. First off, new joint managers for the Mayo Hurlers, Dave McCon and Tom Phillips. They've been ratified. They're both from Ballyhaunis, 2-year term, and they succeed Derek Walsh, who's their fellow clubman who stepped down after 4 years in charge. Shane Power says, you may remember Big Tom Devine, who played for Waterford. That's his club, Modeligo. Yeah, and I believe his brother John Devine is playing there at the moment. Also, Tiernan McCann has called time on his Tyrone career. He said, I'm 31 now. I feel like I had 9 long but unreal years at it. I fully enjoyed it. And as I said previously this year, I'm very much looking forward to getting back to the club and giving it everything from the start of the year. So, will we start off a little bit with the Tipperary Championship? Will we have enough time to get through it the way I would like before bringing on Tony Considine?
Well, Tony's supposed to come on at 12:30, so we could be here till 1 o'clock if you're going through it the way you want to. But yeah, it's going to be a fascinating game. Like, part of me would have liked, if it's obviously not possible with time, but if it was on Saturday, I'd probably have a better chance to get a good gawk at it rather than with how busy Sunday is and the fact that it's not live, shall we say, without it being streamed. Or if it was the week after, it would be the marquee game probably. But it's just like, this is as quality wise, this is the best weekend of the year to me. It's outrageous. Every county final you go through, like, a lot of people probably don't even know that the Galway football final has been turned around that quickly because they have to play in Connacht. That's this weekend. Tyrone is obviously this weekend as well. But Tipp is going to be fascinating. I can't get away in my own head that I know they were the ones that drew the game, but I'm not sure if Kilruane are going to get to that level that they got to in the final, and as many things go right for them maybe as did the first day. And I think Kildangan will find a way, but there's so many fascinating matchups. It's interesting to see whether they're going to be able to shut down Jerome Cahill. They probably weren't able to shut him down to their liking the last day, and he had a couple of big plays. But you'll probably go through it even a bit more forensically than me.
Yeah, well, look, one of the things I'm interested to see is Jack Peters his hamstring have improved from last weekend? You could see he wasn't going full tilt. He was more minding the square, but he still was really good. Aaron Morgan, who's a brother of Craig Morgan, he played in the full back line, and I thought he was brilliant, to the point that I'm thinking, I know he had that slip where he spilled the ball and Paul Flynn lashed it to the net in the second half, but his ability to read the play and get on ball and see where the breaks are going to be, and he just looks like a bit of a Rolls Royce back there. I wouldn't be surprised if he was called into the Tipperary panel. He's certainly someone I like the look of. Then also the Niall O'Mara against Paul Flynn matchup. Is that going to happen again? Or will Killerwan say, look, let's see if we can find someone to try and shut down Paul Flynn? I mean, he scored 1-4 from play last week anyway. If he scores, you'd be surprised if he scored more than 1-4 no matter who he's up against, because that's such a great tally for anyone to get. But you'd love to release Niall O'Mara to maybe centre-back and drive forward all the time. But then again, Sean Hayes, who had a quiet one last week, maybe he'd go to town then if Niall O'Mara was driving forward all the time. So this is the sort of beauty of this match. And at the other end, Alan Flynn, he had some good moments last week. He'll look to get into it a little bit more. Willie Connors probably has more in the tank as well. I think it's just a fascinating match, and I'd love to know what people's thoughts are. Ty Gallagher has been one of the players of the championship. He was quiet the last day. His brother Joe, who's a bit older and more experienced, he was brilliant throughout the game. So I think this could be another really good fight. I totally understand what you're saying in terms of Killadangan have the depth. They probably feel like they can hurl a little bit better than that. Killerwan had Keano Kelly go off injured and come back on. Is his ankle going to be okay for this match? And just they don't really have the depth. I mean, that's not being insulting to them, but that's just borne out by how deep they've gone into the bench throughout the championship. And they obviously don't have Craig Morgan, which is a huge loss. But I still think it's going to be tasty. As the father said to me, Killadangan always give you a chance. So I do think it's going to be close, go all the way down the wire. And I wouldn't rule it out going in either direction.
Yeah, I just think there's a bit more in the Killadangan tank. As you say, you go through a lot of their big players there. And, sixes and sevens maybe last week out of 10. There's more improvement in them. If, Paul Flynn, they probably needed Paul Flynn to catch fire somewhat last week to get them out of jail a bit. But I would imagine there's more in Willie Connors, there's more in Alan Flynn, there's more in Billy Seymour, more in Sean Hayes. You know what I mean? But on the flip side of that, that's all fine saying that there's more in them and they can play an awful lot better. It's a different story actually going and doing it, and they were relying on Ryan Mallochny's probably placed balls the last day, and a fairly dubious one at that as well. But I don't know. When you get a bit of an instinct or a gut feeling that you just think there's more coming. Now, that's not to say they haven't played particularly well in this championship. They've, done enough to get the job done the whole way through. But I just think, they'll just do enough to get the job done again.
Yeah, I think we have Tony Considine here. Tony, how are things with you?
How you doing, man? How are you getting on?
We're not too bad. We might adjust you to get into the centre of the screen there, if you don't mind.
Right.
Yeah, we'll have to get you to nudge over to your left, I'd say, a little bit. No, maybe. Yes.
Right, okay.
There we are.
Is that my good side now? Is that my good side, lads?
Look, it doesn't matter with you. Either side is good.
I can hit. I'm equally bad on both sides, boys. Okay.
Tony, I was saying to our viewers before you came on air, you're not a man for WhatsApp by the sounds of things, and no smartphone, which I admire, I have to say.
You have viewers, have you?
Yeah, all we do, there's a few here, don't worry, there's a few here, all right, come on. You're dead right.
I have a phone that has served me very well, Michael, so I kind of rely on it a lot, but look, at one of these days, I'll probably have enough money to buy one of the smartphones that you have and things like that,
So what did you do when you were in charge of Kilmallock there in recent times and you have to set up training and all that? It's all WhatsApp groups these days.
Well, first and foremost, I suppose we won the championship, so it isn't too bad,
Well, you have us there.
Look at lads. There's loads of lads around to do that. I have a phone, all right, and as you can see, I have an iPad as well, and I do all them kind of things, But the phone never worried me too much, really. It's about lads turning up the train and do it on time and things like that. Have their schedules and things like that. And as a manager of a team, I always laid out a schedule, and there was no need to phone me. There was no need to contact me because that was the schedule. You know what I mean? So we went by that, and fair play to the boys in Kilmallock. They did that all the time.
So this
I
weekend,
just feel maybe, you know, that the modern society, I suppose today, is everything is done on phone and online, and I appreciate that too, and I think it's fantastic, you know. But sometimes you rely on the old thing, lads, we'll turn up and we'll be there, and we don't need anyone to tell us to turn up to be there. We don't need anyone to contact us 5 minutes beforehand to say they can't make it and things like that, you know. So I just think it has worked for me anyway, and hopefully it'll continue to work whatever I do from now on.
It's funny you say that, Tony, because I remember chatting Kieran Kerry, and he said the one thing that annoyed him when he was with Patrick Swell was, you know, a WhatsApp group, you know, hopping the whole time, the days off, and he was saying, I don't want anything going into the group when we're not training. You just, I'll tell you about training. Make sure you all know when training is. I don't want loads of messages coming through. I want your days off to be days off. So to be honest with you, I kind of like that approach. Like generally, and plus you're taking excuses off the table and you're not aware of them, but lads give them the thumbs down in WhatsApp groups that they can't go training and stuff like that. You've taken a lot of issues off the table, I'll tell you that.
I presume when the two of you were playing, you didn't let anyone know you wouldn't turn up or anything like that, did you?
The problem with us was people didn't want us to turn up. We were that bad, Tony.
No, I'll say no more about that, lads. You know what I mean? But look, at the end of the day, what works. If you meet a team at the start of before you ever start managing or training them, you lay out the golden rules, really, don't you? You know, and you go by that. You either go by that or you don't go by that. That has been my way. I've done it all my life, and I think it'll continue to be the way I do it, you know. And I don't need, as I say, I know modern technology is fantastic. And look at where I'm talking to you now, maybe, you know, I remember years ago when I lived in London, going back, we would say before, around the late 70s and things like that. I remember having to go out to a place called Box Hill, which is in Kent, to go up to a top of a hill and to hear the radio to get a reception from the matches at home, you know what I mean? So it just goes to show how technology has really, really moved on, and it's fantastic. And it's fantastic for the game as well. And look at the Hawkeye and everything we have now in the game. And the only thing I have a problem with that, it should be in every pitch. It should be in every match and things like that. And then there'd be no controversy about scores or it was wide or whether it wasn't wide and things like that. And maybe that will come as well, lads, and hopefully it will. In my time anyway, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, they had it in Thurles last weekend. They didn't have it turned on, and there was a very ropey point that was given to Killidangan. So, but it cost like 7 or 8 grand to go. But Tony, this weekend, Na Piarsaigh and Kilmallock in the county final in Limerick. So Gaelic grounds is reopened. That's obviously a huge thing. But are the two best teams back in the final?
Oh, by far, yeah, by far. And you know, I think this is a game not alone in Limerick, but I think a game in the surrounding areas that everyone wants to see. You know, they're two of the best teams in Limerick, probably two of the best teams in Munster as well. You know, so they have a great record, both teams, and hopefully we'll get a good game on Sunday. The Gaelic grounds has been resodded and things like that, and I believe it's fantastic. You know, so we have two fantastic teams, and hopefully they'll produce the goods on Sunday.
Yeah, is there any particular matchups or any players that you think have been? Well, is there any players that are absolutely on the top of the grass at the moment?
Well, you're talking about if you're looking at club forward lines in both teams, you know, you'd have to say they're probably two of the best in the country at the moment. Kilmallock have fantastic forwards, and so have Na Piarsaigh. Now, I will think that it's the team that will be able to defend against these forwards that will really come out on top, you know. And like Kilmallock, something a bit similar to last year, really. We played Ballybrown in the quarterfinal of the championship last year. It was classed as a quarterfinal, but it wasn't. You know, if they had beaten us, we were gone. Now we hung in. I think the score was something like 27 points to 220, right? And even I think if they got a draw that night, we were still gone, you know. But we held on, won a point, showed great character, came back in and went on from there. I presume you've heard about the Doon Kilmallock semi-final this year. It was much the same. Doon were really on top. I think it was the 65th minute. The guy that I think was really good for Kilmallock and has missed out through injuries and things like that. Robbie Egan came on. I got a fantastic goal to put Kilmallock into the final, you know. So, you know, it's kind of a replica of last year, really. But they have fantastic character. I know the character of these lads. And, you know, they're going into the Gaelic grounds on Sunday with one thing in mind, and that is to retain the county championship. And, you know, as we all know about Na Piarsaigh, you were at the end of them, I think, 1 year, or were against them 1 year, Shane, when Coola beat them in the All-Ireland final. They have won the All-Ireland final, they've played in 2 All-Ireland club finals, and they have a vast amount of experience in that team, you know. And they have 6 quality forwards as well, real quality forwards. And, you know, it's going to come down to, as I said before, who's going to defend the best. And if Kilmallock can defend better than the Piercik, then Kilmallock can win that championship. But that's not going to be an easy thing to do now, because the backlit midfield should be very interesting as well. You have William Donoghue, you have Rob Hanley. They're both Limerick panelists there, you know, so they should be flaking into one another from the word go, you know. And like, you know, that's the game. But the Limerick hurling I found last year was really, really competitive. You could see why Limerick are doing really well at county level, because their club players really put everything into it, you know, and they're fantastic games to see, you know. Anyone, you're on the edge of your seats. Now, I was involved last year, you know what I mean? So you have to kind of be a small bit off of the edge of the seat when you're managing the team. But people that's looking at the game, they're on the edge of the seat all the time, and it's just great hurling, great physicality to the game, and great sportsmanship as well, I'd have to say. You know, it's great sport. There's great rivalry between healthy rivalry between the Piercik and Kilmallock. But you can be sure once that ball is thrown in on Sunday, they will flake into it from the word go. And that is great. It's great for the people that's playing in through the turnstiles. The only thing I have last Sunday, I was in this last Sunday, I think, you know, I think the admissions fee is a bit too much for one match, really. One match in this last Sunday, you know, was to me was too dear. And I think it's the same in Limerick on Sunday. 2 matches, yeah, but I don't know what was in Thurles last Sunday, Shane. You were probably there, but there was 2 matches.
6,600 or something like that.
Yeah, but what was the entry fee? What was the charge going in?
I don't know. I always get in free, Tony.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah. I suppose Verney gets in free as well. You know what I mean? You have great time with that, you know. But you know, I think it's a bit. I know under 16s are free and things like that, which is great as well. You know, but like there was a massive crowd in Innis last Sunday. I think there was up to 10,000 in Innis last Sunday, which is fantastic for a county final. You know, and I presume you could have the same maybe in Limerick next Sunday, if not more.
Yeah, no, 25 was saucy enough going into Ennis, and I know they say that it's 20 if you've, you know, bought your ticket by Saturday night, but the GA is still a lot of people just don't know until the day whether they're going or with conditions and things like that, or have to organise plans. But just something you touched on, Tony, like the Kilkenny Club Championship has always been talked about the physicality, and if you talk to anybody that, and you know, even chatting to Dan Shannon, he couldn't get over how physical the Kilkenny Club Championship was. But Limerick is mirroring that now. By all accounts, like Doon and Kilmallock was an absolute war, like a physical war. Like, and Limerick is mirroring that, and that's mirrored in the county team as well. As good as they are on the ball, and they're beautiful on the ball, it's so physical, so physically taxing, and the hits that they put in, like it's a great sign of a club championship.
Yeah, and you know, it's great to be involved in that kind of club championship, I think, anyway, you know. I mean, I was involved in Limerick for a few years, both with Kilmallock and Gary Spillane as well, going back in time, you know. And I always found that Limerick hurling was really, really tough, you know, skillful, but very, very tough. You had to be in your full health to play it now, you know. There was no place for a fella went out and said, we're not going to get hit here today. You're going to get hit for every ball. Within the game rules now, you know what I mean? It's a physical game. Hurling is, sometimes it becomes a non-contest in lots of places. It wouldn't be my style of hurling now. I like to see a good contest, and I think that's what the supporters like to see as well. They like to see real physical contest with good hurling match. And obviously, as you spoke about it there, Michael, Kilkenny have always produced that at inter-county level, and I have been out at club games in Kilkenny as well. Sometimes you'll be closing your eyes, you know what I mean? But all within the confines of the game as well. Fantastic, I think, and it's great to see. I think Galway have much the same as that as well. I think they have a great physicality to their game as well, you know. So, and it's coming into the county now, as you say. Limerick have brought that really in from the club scene, but even at intermediate and junior level in Limerick now, it's really, really competitive. And why wouldn't it? When they look at the county teams, they see Claude Hegarty, he's from St. Patrick's, which is a junior club. They see Seamus Flanagan, he's from Fiona, which is an intermediate club, second level intermediate in Limerick. So they're all thinking, hey, if I produce it here, Kylie probably give me an out-shout, you know what I mean? And I'm in the panel, you know. It's about getting on the panel in Limerick now, I say, not minding the team. And that's fantastic for the game.
Yeah, since we had Mike Casey on Friday at a coaching clinic, I was just thinking about how educated these players seem, and they all discussed the tactics and how they should play and all that. And I'm just wondering how much that's brought back to the clubs. You know, the likes of the Piercik have obviously had a huge amount of county players, even just during John Kiley's and Paul Kinnerk's reign. So I'm just wondering, what do these boys bring back in terms of like trying to elevate what you had in Kilmallock there over the last couple of years? Did you find that they were like their preparation or how they thought about the game, that they were able to bring something extra?
Oh yeah, oh fantastic. I mean, it's great when you have maybe guys like Graham Mulcahy comes back into the squad there after being with Limerick, and Barry Hennessy, Robbie Hanley, and these fellas, and Alvin Costello and things, Of course they bring it. They bring a different intensity to your training session, obviously, because, they'll bring what they have been doing at inter-county level. And, if the lads want to make the team at club level, they have to match that as well, And sometimes you try to be ready for that coming back. When they come back to you, that you have the team fit enough and physically to take these lads on when they come back. And the training, of course, is fantastic when you have 5 or 6 lads. That's the way with the county, and they come back. And the one thing I would say with Kilmallock, they're real solid clubmen. All the guys in the county, Graham and all these lads, some of them are living in Cork and things like that. They'd never miss a session, or they'd never be late for a session or anything like that. They're just fantastic guys, and I'm sure Na Piarsaigh are the same, and most clubs in Limerick are the same, But of course, when you're winning All Irelands, there's a spin-off. I remember Clare in the 90s, not going back too much, when we were winning All Irelands at that time, our Munster Championships, I think Clare won like 6 Munster clubs in a row, So there is a spin-off from your county team doing very well. And Limerick, I suppose, are the top team, 4 All Irelands out of 5, and they're getting a response. And look, they have a lot of work done at underage level as well. They're still doing it, and they'll continue to do it. Now, where lads were going around the city one time with rugby balls, I think this fella's going around with hurleys there now. Young lads, I'm taught about maybe 9, 10, 12 years of age. And that only can be good for the game in Limerick going forward anyway,
Yeah, just on that, Tony, if you read this comment out, Shane, Brian Curtin, as I'm walking by JFK Primary School, Ennis Road, Limerick, the boys are all running around on their break wearing their Piarsaigh tops, so I'm sure they have hurls in their hands as well, and that's a great sign. And it's funny when you said that, Tony, like the Bridge won a Club All-Ireland, St. Joseph's Dora Bearfield won a Club All-Ireland, like they were all, Clare Castle were beaten by Burr in a semi-final, probably would have been club champions in 98.
You had to bring that up, Michael.
This other lad brings up Burrs Lee and Coola every opportunity he gets, so I'll definitely take this chance, but it's just there was another comment, Tony, I just wanted to put by you. Like, if you were the Kilmallock manager facing into this weekend, Flash just says, he said the scary thing about Na Piarsaigh is that they have fellas on their team who are not on the county panel but are inter-county level, and we've often talked about that, Shane. The likes of Adrian Breen,
David
Dempsey, other lads, like there is serious class and quality there. I suppose if you get too wound up about trying to deal with certain lads, you can end up kind of crippling yourself. But there's a lot of fires you have to put out, shall we say, if you're playing against them.
Well, you're talking about 6 quality forwards there, real quality forwards. You have Adrian Breen, Conor Boylan, you have Peter Casey, you have David Dempsey, you have Kevin Downs, who was on an ex-county player as well. You have them all, really. But the big thing that I see about Na Piarsaigh, and one of the most important players they have in that forward division, has got to be David Dempsey. He's the one guy that always seems to be working really hard. He always gets a score when they need it, Now, Peter Casey has gone through injury for the last year or so, and Peter hasn't really hit the heights yet, I think, that he's capable of in this championship. So maybe that could be a warning sign as well. Maybe he's ready to hit it maybe a Sunday, but he hasn't really, having that operation, I think, and look, he lost out years into county level as well, and, it's hard to come back from that right away, as maybe both in the past. So I think, or Sunday, I think, along with David Dempsey and Adrian Breen, who had been the 2 outstanding forwards this year, I think, for Na Piarsaigh, I think they need Peter Casey to step up as well. I think they need a good performance from him on Sunday, and he's a real class player. He's an all-star. So at club level, maybe he's waiting for the Sunday final to do it. I know Graham last year, Graham didn't hit the high spots until the county final last year, if you remember. He got 7 points in play at the day of the final, but Graham would probably say himself, maybe he wasn't playing really well up to then, but the day it mattered, he done it, and that's a real sign of a good player.
Yeah, I just want to ask you one other thing just about the players coming back from the county. And again, this is just about Mike Casey and some of the drills he was doing the other day in Naas. He was talking about the games-based approach, which is the new buzzword, and the applied skills and stuff like that. Would they have come back and say, look, we're doing these drills with Limerick, I think they might work well with us, or would they not have quite gone that far?
I know, I wouldn't. Personally, if you come back into the club, you have to go with what's been happening at the club while they were away. And I found that in Kilmallock anyway, the lads just fitted in right away to what we were doing, what we were putting the lads through that was there all the year. And they joined in willingly, no word, just get on with it, and that was it, Maybe then on the field of play, They might bring some of that that they have been doing with Limerick. Obviously, you don't switch off from the county scene right away. And let's be honest, they're county players, so you'd expect them to be the leaders of the team on the big day. Because if they don't lead on the big day, you have no chance of winning. And that's what I'd say Kilmallock and the Piercy will look for Sunday. Now, the big thing about Sunday is you're looking at the defenders on both sides. The top players on both sides next Sunday would probably be the attack. You have Oisin O'Reilly, Graham Mull, you have Micheál Houlihan, you have these lads in the attack on Sunday for Kilmallock. You have, as we say, we spoke about the Piercy players. But it could come down to the goalkeepers next Sunday who'll win the championship. I think Kilmallock have probably one of the best goalkeepers, not alone in Limerick, but one of the best in the country in Barry Hennessy. He's been understudy there to Nicky Quaid, and Barry has been saved Kilmallock time after time. And if you remember, even last year's final, he brought off a great save from Aaron Gillan. He's just a great organising his defence, and maybe it might come down to that your goalkeeper could win the match. And there's so many good forwards on Sunday on both sides. Maybe it could come down to that.
Can I just ask you one question, Tony, about Graham Mulcahy? So I know you said last year he scored 7 points from play in the county final, and he was the best player in the field. But when he goes out for Limerick, we'd say in the last couple of years, he plays a different type of a role. He doesn't necessarily, get on the scoreboard. But by God, the work he gets through and how much easier he makes it for everyone around him, the shift that he puts in. Like I don't know, just looking at him the last year in particular, he's totally sacrificing his game for the greater good of the squad. Like a guy like that in amongst your panel is worth his weight in gold. Like,
oh yeah, and he will do the exact same at a training session in Kilmallock as well. That's Graham Mulcahy. Now you go back to the All Ireland when Limerick beat Galway in the All Ireland final. You have to say that probably one of the most influential players in the field that day was Graham Mulcahy. For his work rate, and he got a crucial point as well. Maybe they probably won the All Ireland for Limerick, But Graham is a fantastic fella outside of hurling as well. He's a real good, level-headed character, really grounded. And gets on with his life. As I say, he's living and married in Cork now, but he has really, really commitments to Kilmallock. When he comes to Kilmallock, even last year now, he got injured, as in the All Ireland final. I don't know if it was from that hurley break or what, how he injured his knee, but he got injured anyway. And he came back and he was doing a bit of rehab, he had to do his rehab, and he was in Cork. But he travelled all the way from Cork to Limerick to do it on the training field when we were training, So it gave us a great lift as well. And personally, you could use it as a stick as well for the rest of the lads that you were training, you know what I mean? And here was a lad who was travelling from Cork to get right for the championship for Kilmallock, which was fantastic, But they had some great guys there, as I'm sure the Piercy have as well. As I say, I wouldn't know as much about the Piercy lads personally because I was never involved, but I was involved with Kilmallock. I know what they bring to the table, and you know what? They have great tradition as well. The tradition there. They have a lot of lads around the town there that has played for Limerick, played for Munster, and have all-stars and things like that. And it means a lot. It means a lot in Kilmallock. Kilmallock, hurling is everything in Kilmallock, and when they don't do well, like you know about it in Kilmallock, and they'll let you know about it, So, and that's a good thing as well. I always say for a town, it has a fantastic club spirit. Sometimes some fellas say, the country club have the spirit and things like that. But in Kilmallock, they have all them. They have all that. Every bit of it they have, And they have great people that follow them too. And I tell you, there'll be a fair crowd of Sunday in Limerick, but there'll be a massive crowd from Kilmallock because they just live, eat, drink, and eat hurling, And fair play to them, It's great to see it.
Yeah. Like you had a brilliant run last year, and obviously Ballygunner, they had a great year, and they were just that little bit of a bridge too far. But I just want to ask you about how the team has. It's probably been changed around a little bit this year because, obviously Paddy O'Loughlin was away and you had to try and find a way to work him back in. And I'm sure that was a bit of a headache, whether it's a positive or a negative headache. There was definitely a headache in that. Gavin O'Mahony seems to have gone from full forward back to centre back. So they've rejigged the team a little bit this year. I think Aaron Costello's half back as well. So it's probably a completely different starting half back than probably what you had in the county final last year.
Yeah, and that's a good thing as well. That brings a good bit of freshness. Now, I believe in my thinking that Kilmallock are stronger this year than they were last year. For the simple reason is, for some unknown reason, I couldn't play a guy last year that was 6'2", 14.5 stone, played for the Limerick under-20s, and he still couldn't play championship hurling for Kilmallock. Shane O'Brien. He couldn't play last year. You know, I don't know where we're going with that. Hopefully they'll look at that, because it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. He's a big addition in the forwards now, you know, and maybe that's the reason for Gavin going back as well, that you come down a quality forward like Shane O'Brien. Paddy O'Loughlin is a real plus as well. Paddy, as you know, when travelling last year, he's back again, really sound, solid guy. And he's playing wing back, you know. So, I mean, Gavin, I know, is probably centre back, but he will have maybe Aaron Costello at one side of him, Paddy O'Loughlin at the other side of him, lads with All Ireland medals, you know, has played inter-county. So that's a big plus, really, you know. Going back then, I think they can always move Gavin. I don't know what team Kilmallock will put out on Sunday, what positions they'll put him in. But the big thing about this is whoever they play on Sunday, they will be left with a strong bench as well. You know, you have David Wolfe, who probably hasn't made the team maybe this year, yes. You have Conor Hanley, Clark, who's a very good player as well. You have Robbie Egan. You know, you have a lot of... Now, Phelim O'Reilly, Oisin's brother, is playing this year. He had to go on work experience last year to America. So he just came back before the county final. So he was out of it for a few months. I believe he's playing really well this year, and he's a good, athletic, strong player as well. So I think they have more strength and depth this year than we had last year. But coming back to that thing about the Munster club, I just felt last year Ballygunner beat us and were fair and square. They were a good team and went on to win the All-Ireland. But I just feel we needed to play that game before Christmas, because we were going on momentum, if you know what I mean. And we had beaten Middleton. We needed to play it. And then with a couple of weddings coming up and things like that, not the ideal preparation, you know. And as you know as well, last year, COVID was around as well. So, you know, I just felt the energy went completely out of our team at the end. But fair play to Ballygunner. As I said last year, they had big things in mind, and they went in and they won the All-Ireland club. Now, you know, the way they won it, that's a great way to win the championship, you know. And, you know, it'll be tough again this year. But, you know, I think if they get over the Tipp champions, I think they have to travel to Limerick this year. And that's not going to be easy. Not going to be easy, no matter who wins on Sunday.
And if we were to put your neck on the block, who do you think will win between Kilmallock and the Piercing?
Well, putting my neck on the block, and you probably say, Tony, you're biased here. You know, I'm not really. I give Kilmallock a great chance of winning the championship on Sunday. I think they'll go in, you know, as underdogs, as you all know, but that won't worry them. You know, they'll go in full of confidence. You know, they are holding on to that cup, and they want to hold on to it. They'll bring it in the bus on Sunday, and I think they want to bring it home as well. You know, so I believe Kilmallock can do it. You know, now, as I say, a lot of things will have to go right, but and I put it down maybe to that thing I said before. Maybe it might come down to the goalkeepers, you know, making a great save at a vital time in the game. And I feel a fella like Barry Hennessy is always capable of doing that.
Mm-hmm. Michael, do you want to jump in?
No, I tell you what, I'm fairly looking forward. I was looking forward to the Limerick final before Tony came on, but I'm very looking forward to it now anyway, I can tell you that. Tony, I just want to put this to you. You were talking about great ways to win games. A great way to win a game is with a last-minute score. Just like he had 25 years ago when Jamesy put over that one to beat Tipp, which I know it's 25 years ago, but I'm sure it's as sweet as ever.
It is, you know, but I didn't think you'd bring that up there now, because with Shane around, I didn't want to be talking about that, you know. And you know how the Tipperary still feel about that, you know what I mean? And you know what? Even talking about it now, Michael, fair play to you. I have a great feeling already about it now, you know. It's bringing back all them great feelings, you know, that you get from a fantastic win like that, especially against a county as good as Tipperary, you know what I mean, you know. So, you know, it's great, it's great. As I say, look, it's a memory. Everything is a memory in the game, you know, and we all have been involved in the game for a number of years. Maybe fellas might say you're involved too long, but at the end of the day, look at it, hurling is hurling. That was a fantastic time. There was great rivalry between Tipp and Clare that time. There was great rivalry between your county and Clare as well, Michael, you know what I mean? You know, and fair play to you won the All-Ireland in '98. I don't know how you won it, but you won it anyway, you know. But just to bring that in. But look, at the end of the day, hurling is hurling. And the greatest thing you have from hurling is memories. Memories are fantastic. Whether you're on the line, playing the game, or managing or mentoring or a supporter, the greatest thing you have of all is a memory of great occasions. And they were great occasions that we remember anyway in the 90s. And they're still great occasions, you know, still fantastic occasions there. And hopefully we'll still have more occasions, and you'll have a lot more occasions to look at, I'd say, and I will in years to come. But it's great to see the game, and it's great to see it going. And hopefully we will see a fantastic county final Sunday in Limerick. And I think it'd be great to see a good county final replay in Tipperary as well, because the game is all about that, really. It's all about lads talking about it. Maybe fellas having a few pints on the way home and arguing and giving out about it and things like that. But so where would we be if we didn't have it, you know? I probably wouldn't be talking She2 Lechicos today, you know what I mean? You know.
And Tony, would you have gone to many of the reunions that the 95 and 97 team have had over the years?
I didn't go. I wasn't at it this year. I wasn't in Croke Park in the All-Ireland final. I just feel I like to move on all the time, if you know what I mean. You know, I know, you know, it is a great occasion. I've been running into the lads from time to time, you know, and you know, it was great time for us, great time for Clare. You know, Ger was fantastic, you know, and still is a fantastic guy today about the game, and always had a great feeling for the game. You know, people say the three of us were half mad as well, which is a big help. You know what I mean? When you're
only half mad.
Well, I was okay. The rest two guys were fully mad. You know what I mean? But it's one of these things you think about. But you know, you've got to move on with life too. You've got to move on, and it's all about Clare now. And I think last year, Brian Lohan did a fantastic job in getting Clare to where he got into it, to the All-Ireland semi-final. I know things didn't go right in the All-Ireland semi-final. Maybe there's reasons for that. I think just putting so much effort into the Munster Championship last year and losing it by a point, I just felt psychologically that even against Wexford, as you were all probably looking at, Clare were lucky to get out of that game. And maybe if Rory O'Connor stayed in the field, we might have got out of it. But I just felt, rather than lose by a point, I think if you lost by 7 or 8 points, you'll be in a better position, if you know what I mean, you know, because when you're only a point down. And remember, Clare played Limerick last year in 3 fantastic games. You know, the round robin game in Ennis was fantastic. And there was no result after 70 minutes in either of them, you know. And when it went extra time in Thurles, I think Clare couldn't afford to lose the Munster Championship, if you know what I mean. I think Limerick could. And maybe Limerick might have come back and still won the All-Ireland if they lost the Munster final, you know. But I think Clare just went all out maybe to win the Munster Championship. And it just didn't, they were so near. And I think we didn't recover from that going forward, you know. But Lucas, I think he had a great year because no one expected Clare even to come out of Munster. They didn't expect Clare to be one of the 3 teams or 2 teams to come out, you know, 3 teams rather. And themselves and Limerick came out and it was great, you know. And I think if Limerick and Clare meet again, there'll still be great battles, because if you have a great Limerick team, as we found out in the past, and you have an average Clare team, Clare will always put it up. And it's the other way around, as we found out in '96. You know, there was a great rivalry between Clare and Limerick at that stage as well. You know, you could have a great Clare team and Limerick would put it up to them, you know. So it's a local derby. Everyone knows one another. They're all, houses are divided, everything. Hagen mightn't speak for 6 months after the things like that, you know. But look, it's fantastic. That's what makes the game. That's what makes it, you know. That's what makes it. And hopefully, go on, yeah.
I was going to say, and do you think Clare will get out of Munster next year? Obviously, Tipp are going to be back with Liam Cahill, and Davy Fitz is going to be driving on Waterford. Yeah,
well, the Munster Championship is you'd never know you were from Tipp, Shane, would you? The thing that very good. What colour is that again? There's a yellow part in that. But anyway, look, at the end of the day, I think, Shane, Munster is really open again. You know, you have Cork, Pat Ryan is coming in, I think, really sound guy, good manager, you know. Waterford, new management, Davy back in managing Waterford. You have Tipperary, you have one of your own back managing now, Liam Cahill again. You know, Limerick and Clare, John Kiley, you know. Have we heard about Limerick lads since they won the All-Ireland? There's not one word about them. They'll go away now, they'll winter well, and they'll come back and they'll take the league not too seriously, and, you know, they'll be biting at the bit again for the first round of the championship. I'm sure Clare will be the same way again, you know. So it's really interesting, isn't it, that we can really look forward to the Munster Championship next year. And you know what? Even right now, you can't say who's going to come out of Munster, really. And like isn't like Leinster, you can only pick the 3 teams coming out of Leinster now right away. You know,
but you won't have Brian Cody there.
Pardon?
But you won't have Brian Cody there, which will be...
Yeah, you know, that I suppose Brian, I suppose he'd be there in spirit, I suppose, you know. But I think that's a good thing for Kilkenny as well, you know. I think fresh voices do good for teams and things like that. I think there's a real sound man coming into Kilkenny, Derek Ling, and he has a good management team with him as well, you know. They're all sound men. And that's what you want to see in hurling. That's what you want to see. You want to see real sound, quality guys coming into the game, promoting the game the way it should be promoted. And I think that's what makes for good hurling, really. We have quality people over teams, quality players, and I think people enjoy it. And that's why, as I say, we go to the games and we'll give out and we'll criticise. And we all have been criticised in the past, but that's part and parcel of the game. And people have to take that on the chin as well.
Michael?
The last thing I'll ask you, Tony, and I'm probably catching on the spot here. What's your favourite memory of Ger Loughnane, or like some mad thing that might have happened behind the scenes? We all know he had unique techniques, shall we say. Is there any particular Loughnane story that comes to mind that always gives you a bit of a chuckle?
There's so many, I suppose, there's so many over the years, Ger, has had a unique way, I suppose, of getting the best out of everybody around him, and the one thing, I suppose, about him was, I suppose, the comment, I suppose, in '95. Just bring it back to you there, Michael. You might forget about it.
It's coming full circle now.
Yeah, look, he had said so many interesting things over the years, and obviously, I think maybe even now, I'd say people would say Ger is a loss from the game, not being on the TV and things like that, because he brought so much to it. And he's a real hurling man, a real, what I would call a real country guy as well, and Ger likes his hunting, he likes the bagels and things like that. But ultimately, he's a man of great principle, fantastic principles, a great character and things like that, strong individual. And, he surrounded himself, or wanted to surround himself with people that were strong as well, and you'd have arguments, of course you'd have arguments. That's what makes a management team. No one agrees all the time, because if we did, we'd be in big trouble, but at the end of the day, I think, we can talk about the Tipps, the Corks, the Kilkennys, but I think when Ger came in to manage Clare and to achieve what we achieved maybe in the number of years that he was manager, it was unbelievable, I don't think Clare people ever thought that would happen in Clare. And, you look at all the managers and coaches that have come out of Clare since that time, I don't think any of them have come out only for Ger Loughnane, and fellas have gone on to manage teams, they've gone on to coach teams, but I think tis because they were involved with a guy like Ger Loughnane. That's how they got that at the time, and they're still doing it, some of them. And, I'd say if you ask them right now, who's the biggest influence on them, I'd say every one of them would say Ger Loughnane.
Well, Tony, been absolutely brilliant having you on the show. The crack was flowing there for the last half hour or so. So thanks very much for that, and we'll be chatting to you again soon.
And look, at the best of luck to Tipp and Toffoli as well during the year. You know what I mean? And hopefully we'll catch up again, lads. Okay.
Cheers,
Absolutely.
Tony. Good man.
Okay, boys.
Talk to you soon.
Absolutely brilliant to have Tony on there. That was great stuff altogether. So that's a big final in Limerick this weekend. I think that's going to be a cracker. Jeez, you do well to find a better county final matchup in terms of, we don't know how the game will go, but in terms of like mouth-watering fixture, I think it's going to be hard to beat that anywhere.
Yeah, and when he's going down, listening out the amount of forwards on show, like Jesus, like, and it probably will come down to a keeper, or a big defensive display, somebody curbing somebody maybe and keeping them quiet. It's going to be a fascinating game. It's funny, guys like Tony and that, they just have you absolutely buzzing for a game and have you buzzing for hurling. Like, it's just great. Lads like that are class. You feel energized as a result of talking to them. You know what I mean?
It's passion. That's hurling passion.
Passion, yeah. I love the way you said hurling is hurling a couple of times as well.
Yeah,
Classic.
yeah. It kind of says nothing, but it says it all at the same time.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's all you need to say. You just, after a great match, hurling is hurling.
Yeah, it took on a life of its own. Killarwan and Killadangan, we'll just finish off chatting on that. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it'll be relatively tight, but probably like yourself, I can just see Killadangan getting over the line because they have that probably deeper panel. There's lads who came on the last day, and even one of the cornerbacks, I can't remember, was it Hayes, maybe Hayes, who would have been a starter in previous years, and he didn't even get on the last day. So it just shows that depth of panel. It's just, can they get enough ball? Like, the problem that last week, and we did a video yesterday on Tipcast with Shane Brophy and Paul Carroll, and it came up how ball never went into Billy Seymour, and he was taken off, and then Dan O'Mara came in, who'd scored a goal in the semi-final and was the starter in previous years, and ball never came in. So while they're very good at working the ball up the field, maybe they don't hit the man on the square maybe quite often enough to get a consistent goal threat. If you were to base it on the last game, they did score a goal, but that was more from a spill from the Killarwan defence. So Killarwan are going to need goals. They have probably, as I said last week, the very best forwards on the field in terms of like Jerome Cahill and one or two others, like Keane Kelly if he's fully fit, excellent player. But Killadangan, they're always called an even sort of a team. They have more of a spread of scorers and guys who can deliver, and maybe Sean Hayes will have a bit more, maybe Seymour will have a little bit more. So that'd be my thoughts. I think Killadangan will just edge it.
Yeah, I think Kilruane will need 3 goals to win this game at the weekend.
You might be right.
I kind of think that, and I think they're going to need the likes of Jerome Cattle to have a game of games again and be unmarkable at times and have a couple of those really, really big plays, those game-changing plays. I just think Kilruane going to edge it just about, and I think a couple of those names that we mentioned, Willie Connors, Alan Flynn, Billy Seymour, will just have more of an influence on the game.
Do you know, Niall Heffernan is putting it to us here. Call the Limerick final as well before you go away from it completely, lads. I'm struggling with this one. I'm going to say Kilmallock. Barely.
Yeah, I think Na Piarsaigh will win it. I think Kilmallock will throw it down to them. It'll be a big physical battle. I'm not expecting a 221 to 123 job. It's more of a 117 to 116 type of a job, or maybe a couple more points to spare. But I think Na Piarsaigh will get over the line. I think the hurt of, so many lads missing last year, the latter stages of last year's county championship. And again, like Tony said, the likes of a Peter Casey, who is probably just has been persevering, but maybe hasn't caught fire yet coming back from injury. He might just, it's regular enough to see him hit 4 or 5 from play, and that could be the difference on Sunday. But I'd put it this way: I think Kilmallock could throw it down to them, but I'd still be very surprised if Na Piarsaigh didn't win.
Yeah, and I'm just interested to see. Like they say, the pitch is looking brilliant after the resodding. You just don't know how well it'll take until you put 30 sets of hooves out there on the day, and hopefully it does hold up. But that could lead to it being slightly more higher scoring if the pitch is in perfect condition. Sully 180. Generally, when the favourites get out of jail the first day, they go on to win the replay. Lessons will be learned for Killadang and 6-point win. SSRI says if Kilruane and Moneygall win, along with Shinrone and Roscrea, that'll be 4 champions, senior, intermediate, all adjoining parishes, which does bring us along to the Moneygall against Laura game. It's the intermediate Tipperary County Championship final on this weekend, which is the 3rd tier in Tipperary. The Premier Intermediate's already been Roscrea. I think this is a tasty enough sort of game. The Moneygall are down a couple of lads. Laura have, Bonner Maher will be playing full forward. Brian Hogan, who'll be centre back, obviously a county goalkeeper for Tipperary in recent times. They're pockmarked with some McIntyres in there as well. Moneygall will be hoping for Brendan Toohey to do a nice bit of damage in the forward line. And then obviously the couple of county underage players from recent times, Joe Fogarty and Sean Kennelly, they'll obviously have to do a nice bit of damage. Great for teams at a 3rd level being able to play a county final in Semple Stadium. But that game will be a tasty enough one. And it does bring us back to the coaching clinic that's going to be on in Moneygall on Monday at 12 o'clock, Bank Holiday Monday. Kids under 14 are free, so bring them on down. Eddie Brennan, Paddy Stapleton, Niall Moore, and the coaching clinics have been brilliant so far. So do you want to bring us
on Laura, Shane? Yeah, like Ken Hogan obviously went back to Laura. He stepped away from Rhinus when they were going for 4 in a row in Offaly this year. That obviously came a cropper. He went back to Laura, who in their first year with John McIntyre contested the Seamus O'Reen final, and were unlucky, you'd have to say, against Mullinahone. It was probably just the inspiration of Owen Kelly that day, and then they ended up going back the year after and getting relegated when Bonner had that serious injury. So they're men on a mission. I think we've played them a couple of times before. We played them with our senior team, and they're a good side. When they have everybody, they're a good side. And as you mentioned, the McIntyres, Niall, obviously the journalist that everyone would know fairly well, they're a lively side.
Colin Fogarty as well.
Yeah, was he on the Tipp 20s this year? Good player. They're not an intermediate club in Tipperary. I'll put it to you that way. And they'll be disappointed if they don't get the win at the weekend.
Yeah, I think Laura are 2-9, so we'll see how that goes. And Shane Brophy from the Nina Guardian and Tipcast, he's involved in the backroom team with Laura as well, so we mightn't see him at all next week if it goes Laura's way. We might as well just mention the intermediate final in Limerick as well while we're at it. Bruff against Monaleen. Just wondering what size hurley Sean Finn is going to have on the day. And Toomevara native and tip man Owen Breslan, he's in charge of Monaleen, first season there, so it'd be great for him if he got a title.
Hey, here's one for you now, right? Just to play mind games. Just say they don't know when. Just say Bruffer playing Monaleen, as you say. Just say they don't know whether Sean Finn's going to do a man marking job or whether he's going to play centre back. Let's just say, right? And he's going around in the warm up using a 36, and then they throw him the 33, and they're like, "Oh, Finn's playing cornerback. Finn's going to mark whatever." They throw him in the 33, then he's out playing centre back. I love things like that. Now that's probably just me overanalyzing it, but I think it's kind of peculiar, you know.
And what if he shows up with a 35.5 inch?
He's going up centre forward.
The Galway Senior Hurling Championship quarterfinals are on this weekend. Everywhere else we're at finals, but it's quarterfinal time in Galway because they don't have to play a provincial championship. Sooner that's changed, the better. But these games can go to extra time in Pennos, and between the 8 teams left, they've won 16 of the past 21 titles. David Connors of the Tuam Hurl was giving me plenty of the background here. So the matches are Tommy Larkin's against Clarenbridge, St. Thomas's Capitagal, Sarsfields will meet Portumna, and Loughrea against Turlockmore. So there's some tasty fixtures there. I'll just start off with Tommy Larkin's against Clarenbridge. So it's the second year running that they're meeting in the quarterfinals. The Bridge won by 5 last year. Keane Salmon got the goal, and Evan Nyland knocked over 11 points. But Clarenbridge, obviously they got to the final then. Maybe that experience will stand to them. But they did labour a little bit the last day against Ardrahan, winning by 7. Mark Kennedy, he's the top scorer from playing the entire championship with 222. So I think this is Clarenbridge. Obviously, they've all that underage success. They wish Aaron Nyland was of age. But they'll probably be slightly favoured here against the Tommy Larkin side that's managed by Noel Murphy. And one of your buddies is also part of the backroom team.
Actually, he's a buddy of anybody that follows hurling. The great Cyril Farrell, obviously, it's his own club. Larkins have been in and around quarterfinals probably for a good while. It's probably a matter of making that step. I've seen Clarenbridge up close and personal a few times. Saw them in the county final last year as well, where I think there was only 2 or 3 in it in the wind up. David said there, David Connors, that Mark Kennedy's the top scorer from play. I don't actually think he scored from play at all in their last game, and he still has racked up 222. Good to have lads taking the load off Keane Salmon and taking the load off Evan Island. I have to say I would fancy Clarenbridge to get through in this one. I think they are a coming side, and if they can get through this, I think they'll fancy their chances potentially of getting back into another county final.
Yeah, so I think last year's county final was 20 points to 17. Thomas has beaten Clarenbridge. The next game, well, Jason Flynn, Ronan Murphy and Conor Gardner, they're going to have to do a nice bit of score for Tommy Larkins, who haven't won it since 1971. St. Thomas's will definitely be favoured to beat Capitagal, even though it's only been narrow victories over Cappy the last 2 years. But Thomas's, they are a team that has the physicality that seems to, go to that next level during winter hurling. Like Davy Burke, he's been through this campaign how many times? Conor Cooney, James Regan, Bernard Burke. Apparently now Shane Cooney, there's talk that he mightn't be too far away from a return after a cruciate. Conor Cooney scored 313 from play this year. The team is looking for a 5 in a row. And they're looking to win 7 in 11 years. Like, they must have like a 7-point head start before they even start games psychologically. Yeah,
Cooney, that was on the eve of the All-Ireland Club semi-final last year, wasn't it? Shane Cooney's.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, the timeline is probably about right. The way the Galway Championship is probably suits him as well, because it's been dragged on. If it was he's in any other county, he would have missed the county championship by this stage. They just so much strength. They really do. And while they had a point to prove last year against Ballyhale, I'm sure they have a point to prove again in that winning 5 in a row and trying to get back to that stage. And like they still have that one All-Ireland from all their work over the last decade, and they'll probably feel that they maybe deserve a bit more. But you have to go and prove it. I think Tommy Fitz is still there from Portlaoise. He was coach with them last year. Kenneth Burke is still manager. I'd be surprised if I think they're going all the way to a final again, and I think if the draw allows it, potentially it could be a Clarenbridge Thomas's repeat in the final. That's calling it a good bit out, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, you're writing teams off left, right, and centre there.
Sure, didn't I write Thomas's off last year to my detriment. I didn't write them off at all, but they think I wrote them off.
Yeah, so they took out a couple of lines and decided you did. But like Cappy, they've been threatening to reach a final, 4 semis from 2017 to 2020, didn't quite make it there. Lost to Gort last year. So like, can they bounce back, go on the next level? Like Declan Cronin, James Garvey, they'd be 2 very good defenders. You've the likes of Jam Allen and Mannion, I should say, and Dan Nevin up in the forward line. So
it'd be some statement win for them, wouldn't it? Like,
it certainly would. And
having lost those 4 semi-finals, beating the 5 in a row chasing champions would be absolutely huge.
Yeah, Sarsfields will meet Portumna. So obviously Portumna were coming through the B Championship this year and had a great win over Crockwell in the quarter-final. But this is another step up now. I mean, Joe Canning's obviously done it at this level many times for Portumna, but it's just, does he have enough around him? So, the likes of, I think it's Declan McLaughlin, can he score enough here? The likes of, there's not that many players left from the last time they won the county in 2013 and obviously went on to win the All-Ireland. There's Conor O'Hare, Martin Dolphin, Andy Smith, Canning, Ronan O'Mara. They remain on. But have they enough now? And like, have some of those players that have been around for a long time, are they still operating at a level that's good enough to get a win over Sarsfields? It would be hard to imagine so with the likes of Joseph Cooney, Darren Morrissey, Kevin Hines, Kevin Cooney, who's scored 5 goals in 5 games. It would be hard to go against Sarsfields here.
Yeah, this is a funny one. Like, they could have got it, Portumna, with due respect to Sarsfields, they could have got a lot worse of a quarter-final draw. They could have got Thomas's. I think Clarenbridge would have been worse as well, potentially, and even Capatagal. Sarsfields are a good side, but like, it's a few years since they won a county title. They won't be, I don't think they'll be afraid of them, and I think they'll fancy their chances going into it. I still probably would just be edging Sarsfields, particularly with that goal threat that Kevin Cooney has been offering this season in particular. Big, rangy player, left hand, Cyril says left hand on top. Yeah, I think Sarsfields will just about get the job done.
Yeah, and we're going to bring in Jack Savage in a moment. Just the final Galway game, Loughrea against Turlough. I was in Loughrea last week and even chatting to their manager Tommy Kelly. Now, I'm not going to give away anything. He just used to be an analyst.
I'd say he told you the starting team and everything. So I doubt you have too much to give away now.
Yeah, to be fair, you probably have me there. But he was our one of our analysts with Coola before. And he was with Matty Kenny as well, involved with Dublin. I think he also had a role with Clare at one stage as well. Johnny Cohen and Paul Hoban would probably be some of the players that people would have heard of. But it's just they have a young team. They're unbeaten. And they had 5 wins from 5 in the group. But they've actually been through the group since mid-September. They knew that they were progressing. And it's obviously now late October. So you're talking the guts of 6 weeks where you already know you're through. And I just wonder, could that slightly take the edge off a team?
This is the game of the round. And if there's to be a Bolt or someone outside of Thomas's, and in my opinion, Clarenbridge is to win a county title, it's probably coming from this quarter final. Turlough were in the final in 20. We're very, very close. Really disappointed last year, even though I know they had a couple of injuries. And yeah, like this is a belter of a game. Loughmore have been going really well the whole way through. While there mightn't be a lot of names that we know right now, there's a load of guys that we're going to know and are going to be household names in the next 3 or 4 years. Really young squad, a lot of really exciting players. Tough one to call. Probably just about favour Loughrea here. And this is a different Loughrea side than, the one that contested the club final. It's a different type. It's a more of a pacey, slicker kind of free-flowing side maybe than the Loughrea sides that we would have been accustomed to. So I think that'll be tight, but I think Loughrea will just about get through.
I think Turlough probably have the pigs for the winter, sort of hurling and winter pitches. Ronan Burke, Dahi Burke, Kevin Hussey, Sean Loftus and Lenan, they've been flying as well. So look, we'll see the last 185. And just the other fixture in hurling this weekend, Carrick hurling are against Clunan and Mont in the Leitrim final. So Clunan won last year's decider by a point and Carrick had won the previous 4. So delighted to say we're joined now by Jack Savage to talk all things Kerry. And I suppose first thing, Jack, is you're no longer living in Kerry, you're out in the Middle East. Can you tell us where you are and how you ended up out there? Oh, I think you have your audio turned off. Can you hear him?
No.
I'd say maybe try without the headset. Yeah, maybe just turn off the headset and try it the other way. Yeah, there's no sign just yet.
You wouldn't get that down in Kerry, that's all I know. There'd be no problem with the broadband or anything there. I think Jack can hear us okay, all right.
Yeah. I'll tell you, Jack, is there an option to just turn off the Bluetooth with the headset? Maybe just turn off the Bluetooth altogether. We'll just chat for a second among ourselves while you just have a go at that. Niall Heffernan says 5 in a row in Galway would be some achievement. Thomas is a great club and team anyway. So just as we're about to chat to Jack, it's East Kerry against Mid Kerry in the final this weekend, which would be a tasty one. But Jack, maybe it works. Maybe it's working this time. Can you hear us okay, Jack? No. Might just, if you could just try logging in again there, Jack, and hopefully it'll work again this time. But yeah, Mid Kerry against East Kerry this weekend. That's going to be a pretty tasty one, live on TG Car, and you can imagine the viewing figures will be through the roof, just be partly down to just David Clifford.
Yeah, and I know we're going to chat to Jack about the All-Stars and Kerry's the nice Kerry cohort amongst the All-Stars, including David Clifford. But like we said before, we said again, Clifford is absolutely box office, and people will tune in hoping and probably expecting Clifford to do something fairly spectacular. And in the club final a couple of years ago, I remember he hit the back stanchion with that goal, outrageous. Did it in the Hogan Cup on TG Catter before, and brilliant display in the All-Ireland final, obviously this year as well. But East Kerry have stuttered, you would have to say, based on the talent they have available to them. They haven't exactly lit it up, and I had that nagging thing in my head that is nearly just waiting for that big occasion. Like, it was Paul Murphy's point that got them through to the final, and I kind of expecting them to explode on the scene on Sunday.
Yeah, and I'm just looking through the mid-Kerry team, and some, like, they beat Field Rangers in the semi-final 15 points to 9, so they're in their second final in I think 3 years now. But just going through the team they had in the semi-final and some of the lads who did the scoring, like they have Jack O'Connor, who's in there from Beaufort. They have Éanna O'Connor, Milltown, Castlemaine. He scored 5 points, I think, the last day. Mike Breen, who people will know from the county scene as well. Pat Kilkenny, who was obviously part of Kerry panels over the years, and they had a good win over Field Rangers. But it's fairly star-studded when you go through the East Kerry team, isn't it? And, like, do you think people of Kerry are like to see two divisional teams in there, or would they rather just see clubs?
I think Kerry is as traditional as it comes. I'm sure they'd love to see two clubs in it, realistically. No more than when O'Kelly were winning in Cork. It's grand in a way, because lads from junior intermediate clubs are getting to play senior championship, and even there's talk of it happening in Offaly, some sort of a divisional system, definitely in football anyway, which means I could potentially end up playing senior football if they were badly stuck. But
how badly stuck would they want to be?
They'd have to be pretty badly stuck now, to be fair. But I think it's all fine and dandy until it actually happens and you have two divisional teams in the final and the divisional team is going to win, and then you're into the messiness of the club champions representing at Munster level. Realistically, you want your county championship winners going on representing in Munster. That's generally the way. I remember there was a bit of a furore with Imokilly. There was a furores with UCD back in the day, probably with UCC back in the day as well. And I'm sure people were giving out when Thomond won a club football All Ireland as well. That's just the nature of it in the GA. It's fine as long as it doesn't go above the surface, and it's definitely above the surface in Kerry at the weekend. That's not to take away. It's going to be an absolute cracker of a game.
Yeah, I saw Jerry O'Sullivan, who's the manager, and he has Seamus Moynihan in as part of the backroom team. Going to mention having 32 players in training there the other night. You can only imagine the quality that they have in there. It's probably like a bit of a mini Kerry training session. James O'Donoghue, obviously been there. I think Dara Roach is the full forward. They just have so much quality across the team. And but he did say there's 18 new members of the panel this year from last year. So that does present its own challenge. You're not just going to mold people together overnight. So it's a big challenge for him. Yeah,
just on that as well. So there's fluctuations depending on what teams go senior and what teams are going down from senior as well. So you're not guaranteed of the players. Like, just say, if Fossa win a junior and intermediate and end up senior, the Cliffords won't be playing for East Kerry then, if you get me. Do you know what I mean? They'll be playing senior club football for their native club. But it's a fascinating setup, and it means everyone gets a shot at senior football.
Yeah, Jack, I suppose since we're talking about East Kerry, Mid Kerry, how much are you getting to even watch at the moment? Have you been able to watch games on streams?
Yeah, to be honest, I followed a good bit on the stream now. Them streams are handy nowadays. Like, you can follow most games, like, which is great from the other side of the world. Like, it's ideal. But yeah, look, the championship is ideal, I think, for junior players, especially as you're just saying there, because it gives fellas the opportunity to play at the highest level at senior level. But then you can also represent your club at the junior and intermediate level, which is very important too. But without the structure and the divisional things, like, you wouldn't see them players playing at the highest level or playing for Kerry. But then at the other side of it, then if you're looking at it from a club point of view, for myself, like, we have one team against about 10 or 12 clubs, which is kind of nearly, the way the standard is so high nowadays, it's kind of getting near impossible to beat them district teams. But as I said, look, it gives individuals a chance to showcase their talents at the highest level, I suppose, which is a good important thing as well, I suppose, for the county.
Yeah, how do you see this game going on Sunday?
To be honest, I can't see past East Kerry. Like, they're stacked from 1 to 15, I think, all over the field. Like, they've 3 Kerry goalies in their ranks, like Brendan Keeley, they've Brian Kelly, and they've Shane Ryan. Like, it's kind of unheard of. But even from Paul Murphy all the way up to the two Cliffords, like, sure, like, it's an intercounty team. Like they'll give most Division 2, 3 teams a rattle, like in National League, I think, like, to be honest. But Kerry are going to come out. They lost the final in 2020 against them, so they've nothing to lose as well at the same time. So it'll be interesting, but I think East Kerry will have just enough to get through, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I see John O'Sullivan saying, should they extend the Kerry Championship to 10 teams? Obviously, it's 8, and we're going to see, is it 3? Michael, were you saying, was it 3 All-Ireland winners of recent times are going to be playing in the second tier in Kerry next year?
Yeah, Lawn Rangers, Castle Island, and the Stacks would all be playing intermediate championship football. I don't know if that's ever happened in any county, but is 8 too cutthroat, Jack? Like, I'll put it this way: is 8 too cutthroat? Is 12 too many, or is there a happy medium?
Like, I think we've had many relegation battles with Shannon Road. Like I'd say we've won about 4. Then we were down in the playing Kilcommon there a few years in a row. We had a few games, like, but we eventually scrubbed through. But like, there's no need to have 8 club teams. Like there's 10 or 12 teams there that are well able to play at that level. Like Stacks going down this year. Like, as much as we hate them ourselves and their rivals, like, they're definitely good enough to be playing senior in Kerry. Like, but. Yeah, like, definitely 10 or 12 clubs would definitely make it more even, and there being even keel there, like, because 8 is definitely too cutthroat. Like, you're like Khmer like, if Khmer went down as well, they're too good for intermediate. Like I fancy Stacks to come all the way up again next year and win it. Like, to be honest, handy enough.
They're favourites for the All-Ireland Intermediate Club, I'd say, already at this stage.
Yeah, I'd hate to see them winning the All-Ireland. Never mind, But yeah, no, they'll definitely come back next year, 100%. They're too good of a team, like, But I think 10 or 12 would be a happy medium, and it'd be good. It'd make it more competitive as well. Like, it's too 8 is like two teams of 4 is just not. It's not big enough, I think. No.
So then, to talk about your own clubs, Cairns O'Rahilly, and the fact that there's a Munster tilt ahead for them, is like, I presume you're kind of missing it. You're over in Dubai, and you're probably missing that run with the boys.
Yeah, look. We set out at the thing at the start of the year after losing to Stacks last year. We thought we might give it a rattle, the county championship, but we kind of fell asunder after the club championship. But we had a good run in that. We won the first few games. We got the semi-final. We kind of knew we had a final to look forward to, but like, we had a lot of injuries. I suppose Tommy Walsh was out. We had about 4 or 5 main fellas that were out, and this was the first game all year. We had a full team, I suppose. And look, we had a great win. Temple Lower, great side. They've came up through the ranks as well, but. Look, we're looking forward to a Munster semi-final against the winners of Clare or Waterford, I think it is, 27th of November. Like, but coming back and forward, the fairness, the club have been very good to us. Like, they've looked after myself and Cormac Coffey over here as well. I think Gavin O'Brien is actually going to New York as well. He's gone this week on a grad visa, so it'll be interesting come next few weeks. Like, but look, when they came back, it was a great buzz in the clubhouse on Sunday night. It was our first time winning that thing since 2012, so 8 years is a long time without winning a championship. Be a club or a county. So look, it was great. And look, the Munster Championship it's winter football. Anything can happen. You don't know what way it's going to go, but to be involved and to be a part of it now it's a great something to look forward to throughout the winter months. Like, so it's definitely a positive. Like, even though I'm over here in Dubai, look, we'll still train away and we'll still hopefully get back for the game and see what happens.
So that's the way it's worked with you. You're over and back just for the matches, is it?
Yeah. So I'm teaching out here now. I got a PE job there a couple of weeks back. So. Look, I have no decision made on my future next year or anything. Like, I was talking with Jack O'Connor again about that, but it was always my plan to go travelling till December and reevaluate the situation then, because I just finished college there in September, so I said I'd go and see what it's like. But I'm enjoying it so far. Look, it's a great lifestyle out here as well and stuff. You can't complain. But yeah, look, over and back for games, and we'll take it as it comes now at the moment. Look, we're winning, and it's a positive, but we'll see what pans out now and against a tough Clare or Waterford team there, and tough conditions, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah,
there must be a few sugar daddies on the Strand Road being able to fly you over and back now. I won't even let you comment on it. But there's been a mass kind of exodus, Jack, of lads and ladies maybe taking years out and going travelling and whatever. There's a lot of lads in my own county in Offaly. You see Kieran Bennett with the Waterford Hurlers. There's loads of other lads that's happened over the last maybe 6 to 8 weeks. Do you think that's is that a direct consequence of COVID? Like, did you want to go traveling, having been restricted from not being able to go the last couple of years? And is it a surprise at all that so many people are opted out, maybe are taking a year out and wanting to get away?
Yeah, like, I think a lot of people, young fellas nowadays, like, I actually met Kieran Bennett over here. He was stopping over in to Australia, but like, it's just more of the circumstances at home and stuff, like, and jobs wise and stuff. I just don't think there's that much around the place for young people nowadays. I think there's they want to go travel. They have other things outside of football. Like, don't get me wrong, football is great and it gives you great opportunities and stuff. And it's the best place where you want to be at the intercounty level. Like, it's the peak and stuff. But like outside of football, then for me, like circumstances like around Tralee opportunities mightn't be there as much as they are in other places. Like getting jobs, like I have now at the moment. The standard of living and stuff is a big thing for young people, I suppose. And I think COVID put that into perspective for a lot of people. I think all around Kerry, all around, as you said, the county, like the country. There's just a lot more to experience, I suppose, and like you can still come out and you can still catch up with games and stuff. But I just think, jobs wise and stuff, and just having a standard of living outside of football, I think, is important, and getting the balances right as well. But as I said, like you miss the big days then as well if you do go away as well. That's the other side. You can't win, I suppose, and everything.
What was it like watching Killian Spillane line up for that last free for Temple No that David Moran pulled out of the sky?
Like I was actually in front of him, putting him off, roaring stuff at him, to be honest. So I know what it's like to be a free taker and stuff. I've been there myself, and like it's cutthroat. If you kick it, you're a hero. If you miss it, you're a villain. Like, but look, Killian was unbelievable that game. He kicked 9 points, I think, altogether. We couldn't really get the grips of him. You kind of feel bad in a way. I know how it feels like, but at the other side, look, you have to be selfish. We haven't won anything in the club for 8 years, like, so we were just delighted to get over the moon. I wouldn't mind, but they nearly got a goal out of it too. It would have been heartbreaking for us, but no, look, Killian's a great player. He's been unbelievable for us all year. For Kerry as well, he was top notch. And look, we're just delighted to come out the right side of it, to be honest. Dave Moran was colossal for us that day. Caught ball left, right, and centre. And just for fellas like him and Tommy Walsh, who were massive servants for us, like to finally get something and have a crack at a Munster campaign, because the last Munster campaign we were involved in was 2008. And Tommy and Dave actually just left that year to go to Azarul trials together. And Tommy stayed over, and Dave actually came back. Was it the night before or something against Kilmurray Bricken? And we lost by a point. So look, it's great to get another stab at this kind of competition, which is a big, sacred enough, like the Munster Club, you know.
And when you're now that you're over in Dubai, you're training, I believe, with a team. There's plenty of other ex-county players who are involved, and a man running a yoga studio is involved with the team and managing the team, isn't he? Can you tell us about his yoga studio? And are you stuck in there? Yeah,
I kind of, it's only 5-minute walk from the place here. Like, it's kind of a hot yoga studio. So, you know, it's a different sort of training. Like, you get a serious serious work off it. Like, I found it brilliant. I actually go most days before work or after work, just to kind of mix it up with the training you're doing as well. It's great. The Jumeirah Gales is the team. The Jumeirah Gales is the team I'm over here with. Eric Lowndes from Dublin's on the team as well. You'd have Peter Atchison from Tipperary, he'd be here as well. There's a good standard of football over here. Like, it's 7 minutes aside, 9 players, but it's quick, like over and back. But the club have been very good now. Like, you're meeting new fellas and stuff, and like there's 30, 40 fellas there at each training and stuff. So it's great. Like, but the club have been great now. The yoga studio is there, and they look after you. In fairness, out here as well. Like, wherever you go, the GA is such a tight knit community. You'll always see fellas you know, or like see people you know, true fellas, which is great. Like, and it's an outlet as well to meet people as well. That's the most important thing out here. It's just a social outlet more than anything. Without it, you'd be a bit lost. Without it, kind of, it's a home away from home, in a sense, if you get me. Yeah, we must head over and tip into that yoga studio. What's the name of the yoga studio? It's called YoFit. Give it a look on the Instagram page there. It's great. Your man is from Dublin, and his wife, they kind of opened it there. It was in September, so it's just a good outlet for. It's great. It's been happening ever since. So wherever you go here, whatever you set up, like there's a big footfall wherever you be. Like, so, just if you get the right marketing behind it, and if it's any bit decent, you're going to make a bit of money off it out here. So definitely, check it out. And he's the manager of the team, isn't he, as well? The Jumeirah. He's the manager of the team. Yeah, he's someone else. What's his name? Fairness, a bit of a character, but sure, we're all characters in our own way, I suppose. What's his name? John O'Shea. His name is. John O'Shea. Yeah, no, he's sound. And, in terms of like your season 2021 or 2022, and obviously how it went for Kerry, brilliant for you and all that. Can you talk about how you came back involved with Kerry under Jack O'Connor and how your season went? Yeah, I suppose I had a good season with the club last year, and after the county final, even though we were bait, I got a call to come back in, and I couldn't say no to that really. He called me back in, I'd say around the start of December, and we got back into the gym, and I remember going back into the gym sessions, and Jesus, like the standard and stuff after being out of the game for the last couple of years was huge, I think. But I got called back in anyway in December. We hit the ground running. We were doing all these fitness tests and stuff. But in fairness to Jason McGahan there, the physical trainer, he had the boys in shape I've never seen before. Like going into that training, and I was like, I'm so far behind these fellas after being out of the game for the last 3 or 4 years that it's frightening. But I suppose we hit the ground running. We had a meeting at the Rose Hotel last January, I think it was, and we met Tony Griffin and Paddy Talley, which were the new additions as well to the team. And just I think the whole team just bonded. Like the camaraderie there, like and the bonding between the management and the players was just evident from day one, I think. And that was shown and showed our performances throughout the year, I think. I think we only lost one game in the whole year. I think it was the Tyrone, and that was kind of the back league game before the league final. So I think just the unity there by the team, I think, was unbelievable. And the backs really upped their level from the last couple of years. And the forwards, like with David Clifford in the forward line, I think, and Shawnee Shea, you're going to be up there. If you can not concede as much, you're going to be there at most teams. And look, that was just the way it worked, I think. It was just plain sailing. Like it wasn't always plain sailing, but it turned out to be a great year, I suppose, for everyone involved. Like it was great to bring back the Sam Maguire after 8 years, I think it was. Like, it's a long time missing from Kerry, and the celebrations and stuff, and the fans were just, it was delighted for everyone now, to be honest. It was great.
Yeah, what was it like coming on in the final? I know it was only a blood substitute appearance, but it still must have been a great buzz to come in.
Yeah, I suppose, look, it's tough for dreams when you're growing up. You want to be playing All-Ireland final, like it's going to games in the noughties and stuff. That was the goal, just to climb the Hogan steps and to win something. I think it was great to just finally climb the steps and win an All-Ireland medal, like, and stuff you cherish to the grave, I suppose, when you're looking back on it. And to come on, obviously, was even luckier. Like, you don't get that opportunity too often. I was thanking Paddy after for coming on and getting a knock to give me a few minutes at the banquet after. We had a bit of crack about it. So I got to 4 or 5 minutes, and look, sure, you take the memories to the grave with you, like, obviously, and to come out the right side of it was great as well, like, yeah.
Yeah, and cherishing that jersey, no doubt.
Oh, the jersey be up on the wall. The father's great aspirations for the jersey in the middle to get up on the wall when we have the banquet. So, look, their stuff being from Kerry, like your pride on All Ireland wins, and just to have your name up on that wall now with all them greats, famous Kerry greats that have gone past. Look, as I said, look, football is to the core of many people in Kerry, and you won't forget them days. Definitely not.
I think Michael has himself muted.
Yeah, you are.
Sorry, Jack. Like competing for a starting spot with someone like David Clifford when you're, looking at him in training. But I'd imagine, like, you love looking at what he can do, but at the end of the day, you are competing, against him and the likes of him.
Yeah, look, obviously, that's why I think we got on so well this year. Like, our B team was the forward line and the backs we had in our B team would get on most inter-county teams if you were to look at it, I think. And that's why the standard was so high this year, I think, when you're, like, my two positions were Paddy Clifford and Shawnee Shea, like the two boys. Like, I was just like, look, you can push these fellas as much as you can and just have the team work, and the team ethic was the most important thing, I'd say, looking in all year. But like when you're competing like Tony Brosnan, even competing with Paul Gainey, like you've Clifford there, you've Stephen O'Brien competing with Tony Brosnan, Killeen Spillane, like just, it was unbelievable. Like you've Dave Moore in midfield with Jack Barry, Diarmuid O'Connor, Joe O'Connor, like it was just fellas were driving each other on. You should have seen the trainings were just out of this world, like, to be honest, the standard inside there, and just the level of fitness, the level of skill, like, that you needed to be on your game every week in, week out, like, and it was just unbelievable. But I suppose just David Clifford obviously was just a different gravy. Like, the man is just the most skillful fella I ever met, and I trained with the Gooch inside there, and I've trained with a lot of fellas, but Dave he trumps them all, like, with what he can do and what he has done at this tender age of whatever, 23 or 24, another All-Star one, and he's probably going to get Player of the Year this year. And he's so level-headed, he's so committed, he's so naturally gifted. I think it's a joy to watching the Kerry public are in awe, I think, and he's as good as the Gooch, if not better, I think. And I know he's only young yet, but he's so much ahead of him yet at 23, 24, like, he's exceptional.
He certainly is. And 7 All-Stars for Kerry: Shane Ryan, Jason Foley, Tyg Morley, Gavin White, Paddy Clifford, Sean O'Shea, and David Clifford. And obviously, as you've mentioned already, David is nominated for Footballer of the Year. Do you think 7's about right? Do you think that maybe a few more could have snuck in?
To be honest, like, I would have given it to Tom Sullivan week in, week out. Like, I know he got a bit of a Shane Walsh in the final, kind of gave him a bit of a runaround, but like, Tom was exceptional all year. Like, he was 100% in line for one before that final. Like, but I suppose we were watching two greats in the final too. If you like took a check, Shane Walsh and David Clifford, like the two boys had a bit of a shootout, which is kind of very rare in a All-Ireland final. But I think all the boys deserved it, yeah, definitely. But I try to sneak Tom Sullivan in there somewhere. for just even he's kicking alone and he's attacking play and he's defending alone, I think. But look, you can't give to everyone, I suppose. Look, there's players like Christy McKay deserve one as well. He got one as well, I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, McKay.
Like, it's great to see himself and Conor Glass there, like them fellas getting one as well. Like, and just look, only 15 can get on the team, I suppose. And look, there's always going to be debates about it. Like, but I suppose look, the 7 boys that did get it, delighted for them all. Like, and look, they're all well deserving of it, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see like Conor McCluskey's another one from Derry that might have got it. I see Scorbio tweeting, should Shane McGuigan have gotten an All-Star? 227 from 5 games. Kieran Kilkenny 111 from 5. Damien Comer 2-8 from 6. Now, I know it's not just as simple as scores there, but Michael, I suppose there is a bit of a debate raging.
There is, of course. It's just it's such a fine balance to get across a championship like this. And some people would say that it's far too focused on a semi-final and final, and maybe should be weighted a bit more. At least there's a Tailteann Cup team of the year there to cater for a lot of other counties. McCluskey from Derry, cornerback, is probably unlucky, along with Tom Sullivan as well. One of the best man markers in the game. It's funny on Tom Sullivan, like his year until the final was nearly flawless, and then it's so judged on, and at the end of the day, he's marking the best player on the other team. So that, like, there's a potential for that to happen on a given day, but it looks like his year has predominantly been judged on that. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm not sure. But one thing I wanted to throw to you, Jack, you found yourself in the firing line somewhat at the start of the year when yourself and Tony Brosnan drove up from Kerry for that McGrath Cup game, which I was actually at in Temple. Was it in Mine or Temple Toohey the same night? Let's call a spade now. Did Jack ring you to come up, or did you ring Jack to tell him you were going to come up?
There was a bit of both, to be honest. Look, we were eager to fucking get on the team, I suppose. Look, it was we knew how much like it was going to come out the inches and stuff, making these panels and stuff at the end of the year, I think, and that was our perspective looking in. Look, we were being selfish about it. Like, we played a Sigerson game, we had a chat about it. We were going to go up and tag out anyway, and then we were up there like me and Tony just want to play football. I suppose we're that type of players. We want to play. We want to have the ball in our hand. I think we just got there. Pat the Bag, the chairman, was actually down at the game with us, and he had the BMW, he had a bit of food ready for us after the game, and we just hopped straight in the car. But looking back at it, it was like them kind of things are kind of things you won't forget either in a hurry. I know we got a bit of a slating after whatever in the media about player burnout and stuff, but at the end of the day, we only played about 17 minutes altogether. It's only a full game. That was our perspective on it. We came on for 10 minutes below. I know we were in the car and stuff for a while, but that was the thing. That was the margins we were trying to do to get on that team and the panel, I suppose. And that just shows the fighting spirit that was there and the eagerness that players were. That we knew the panel was going to be so strong this year. We wanted to be a part of it. We wanted to push our heads ahead of fellas that weren't making it. And look, that was it really. Look, we had a chat. We were going to come up and tag out anyway, and we were up there, and they weren't going to come on. They weren't going to play us then, and we were kind of tick about it. Really, we're like, look, come on, put us on. We're after traveling about 2.5 hours to the back Arsenal in Tipperary. Surely give us a run. So we came on for 10 minutes, and I think it was a bit blown out of proportion. Look, there was a few players and stuff commenting on it there and stuff like. But sure, look, we each wanted to play. We wanted to win. We wanted to be part of the panel, I suppose. And looking back now, look, Jack is a sound. Look, he's a great manager. Look, he looked after. That was another key thing for the whole year. I think his player management and man management was exceptional. Like, because when you have a group of individuals like that, you have to be able to manage them all at a certain level, and that's a big characteristic that he has. And look, you could see the group at the end of it. Like, we all bought into it, and we got the reward at the end of it. I think that's important.
Well, in fairness to you, Jack, you didn't balk that answer at all. I thought I was going to get a political answer. I got 100% honest answer anyway.
No, I there's no political in me. I tell you black or white, to be honest.
Yeah, but I can't help but take offence at the slate of Tipperary and the back arse. Every part of Tipperary is God's country. I have to get that in.
I was going to say every part of Tipperary is the back arse and O'Hare, but you're listening.
We're close to Daphne, I'd say. We're in the Daphne border nearly, weren't we?
Pretty much, yeah. You were very close to the King's County, but you're listening.
Well, Jack, look, it's been absolutely brilliant having you on. Enjoy YoFit, get all those yoga sessions in, and best of luck when you're coming back again for Cairns O'Reilly's.
Perfect, lads. Pleasure to talk to you, and enjoy yourselves. Take care.
Here, Jack, good man.
Brilliant to have Jack on there. That was great to chat to him, and best of luck with him for the rest of the season. We've so much to get through. The Mayo County final is on this weekend as well. What's the Sean Finn to get a football all-star as well? Yeah, you've been pushing him hard. You've been pumping him very hard.
I've been going the opposite way, actually. I have great time for him, but I like on legacy, he could end up with a football all-star as well. But yeah, so many other club games to get through this weekend. Like a lot of the marquee football counties have their big game this weekend. So it's important to get through them all and give them their shot.
Yeah, we'll give them all their due respect. So we'll start off with that Mayo final, Ballina Stephenites against Westport. And people are bigging it up this week. Pádraig O'Hora against Lee Keegan. And, that video that did the rounds last week, or was it the week before, of Pádraig O'Hora in a bit of a brawl on the sideline, but he found time to do a little fist pump with one of the kids on the sideline as well. So great fun there. But Lee was telling the Mayo News, my priorities have changed. It's my family and my kids. When I get to play football, I just feel like I'm enjoying it. I feel fresh. I feel good. That's the beautiful thing about playing football. I love seeing the freshness that's coming through with Westport. And look, they were only intermediate champions something like 5 or 6 years ago now. And here they are in the senior final trying to win, their first ever. And what an achievement that would be.
Oh, it'd be an unbelievable achievement. I think I was going back through the records. I think they've been beaten in 6 or 7 finals, but they've climbed through the ranks. And for someone like Lee Keegan coming off, another pretty exhausting county campaign, but he did, another really, really good year playing for Mayo. That sort of energy that young guys coming through, and the prospect of you being a club that's coming and getting closer to the summit every year. They've rode their luck at times. The 2 sending offs in the quarter final. They needed a last minute goal from the big left footer that came in the last day to book their place in the final. So part of them might think that their name is on the trophy, but there's a great contrast between Westport have never won one, Ballina have won 36 of them. And obviously they're going to put Lee Keegan up against Pádraig O'Hora. And just there was some good quotes from O'Hora. I actually think it was last month in the Mayo News, but his approach is quite similar to what Keegan's is now, you'd say. So he just said, playing what does he enjoy most about the big games? He said, playing the game on the big days is great. The noise, the buzz, the energy, the atmosphere is what you play for. And I love it. I really do love it. And he actually didn't play for Ballina in 2017 or 2018 because he wasn't enjoying it. So he just told the Mayo News about that, how he felt after the break. He said, I was big into karate when I was younger, and I would have tried a lot of different sports. I just wanted to sample some other sports again. I was just sick of doing the same thing and over again with the football. I wasn't getting any enjoyment out of it. I was gone for nearly 2 years, but then I went watching the Stephenites again. You can't watch football without being drawn into it. I think coming back was the best thing I ever did. Like, it's amazing, a guy that took 2 years out of club football and then comes back and is, a regular enough with the county team now. But he's his own man, and you kind of have to. There's certain players within squads that you have to give a certain leeway. That they're some birds you can't. What's that saying to say about you can't clip? There's a saying anyway.
You tell this one lovely.
I think you know what I'm. No, sorry. Like, some birds can't be caged, and Pádraig O'Hora is like that. He's his own personality. I'm not like that at all. But like, that's I actually flagged him as one of the nicest and most well-got footballers in the country. And you said Lee Keegan was the other, and they're coming up against each other in county final, and it's a tasty game. And there's a great contrast between the club that's top of the Roll of Honour and the club that's not on the Roll of Honour yet. So it's going to be a fascinating game.
Yeah, and if you want to check out on OurGame.ie, there's an interview with Pádraig O'Hora from earlier this year, and he was brilliant talking about being on Hell Week and just his involvement in a lot of different projects in the Ballina area. The Tyrone final is also on this weekend, Ergil Kieran against Carrickmore. So Carrickmore, they beat Lough McCrory and Clonaux to make their first final since 2014. And their captain, Rory Donald, was talking to the Irish News about how he basically doesn't really have memories of their last title triumph in 2005. He said, you see the videos, that's the only thing you remember. I have a better memory of the beaten finals over the years, and they're not a great memory, to be honest. There were plenty of big names in there, and they stay close to the club, and you'll be seeing them around the pitch. Now, the interesting thing with him is that he's 20, and he's captain of the team, and he was appointed captain last year. And our viewers, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. What other players have been named captain at a really young age? I think like Jimmy Finn captain Tipperary to an All-Ireland in 49 or 50 at the age of 18 or 19. Obviously, another chance to bring up Burris Ali, says you. But like Dylan Gyrey, he was captain of the Nair last year, age 20, when they won the county title. I could be wrong on this, and again, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Mark Grogan might have been Kilmacud Crokes hurling captain at 19 or 20 a couple of years ago. So is there anyone else coming to mind for you?
Michael Murphy would be the first one that come to mind. All-Ireland winning captain at what are we talking?
22?
21, 22, yeah. He
Something like
played
that.
senior football maybe 4 or 5 years at that stage. But like, it's some sign of a leader, and his leadership qualities from he's just assumed, captaincy at that age. It's not generally the done thing. It's usually passed, usually within a club, it's passed through seniority and eventually filters down to him when he's, one of the oldest players involved that hasn't been captain. So it says a lot about his leadership qualities on and off the pitch, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay, so get your comments in there. Let us know what we've missed on that. But Ergel Kieran, they have a lot of the star names, the Canavans, Hart, obviously. And Donnelly was talking about them, said they're a fantastic team. They've beaten two of the best teams in Tyrone and Dungannon and Drumore in pretty shocking conditions. They've shown their quality in those sort of conditions. And throughout the years, we've always had trouble with them. So they're going in as favourites, so we'll have to try our best and see what happens. Cork final is also on this weekend. Nemo Rangers will meet St. Finbarrs. So obviously these teams have, they're up there in terms of roll of honour. But St. Finbarrs is going for a double. That would be fairly glorious for them if they could do that this year.
Yeah, and they've gotten 2 weeks between the two games, which is probably surprising. This is probably the biggest gap they've had in a long, long time. And it's probably the only time in the year where they've been able to focus on one code only. I'd imagine the Jewel Stars have just put the hurls away. They probably enjoyed the hurling for maybe 2 or 3 days and got back to football training mid to late the following week, and have just been focusing on football. But it'd be some achievement if they were able to do the two. They're obviously coming up against the biggest of big hitters in Nemo, who didn't start Paul Kerrigan, I don't think, in the semi-final. He only came on, and that's some luxury potentially to have a player that can change a game with the last 15 or 20 minutes. So interesting to see whether he starts or not, whether they use his experience or not. The Bars have so much youth, same as the hurlers. Very difficult to call this. But you'd imagine the experience that the Bars have from last year, and obviously winning Munster last year as well. Like the dream is well and truly still on there. They have a fair overlap of players. Crokes don't have that same overlap. So I think it's just the two of them, and obviously Naas are still going as well. But Naas don't have the same sort of overlap as the Bars do either. So it's going to be fascinating to see if they can keep that train on the tracks for another couple of weeks. And while they had 2 weeks off here, imagine how busy it's going to get if they do win. And they're going to be potential for playing every second week and potential for a Saturday and a Sunday if they stay going.
Yeah, at least the likes of, for the hurlers, the Cahalane brothers, obviously they play football for Castlehaven, so they wouldn't be lining out. So that's something. This will be the 6th year in a row that one of these two teams wins it. So Nemo are obviously going for their 4th in that period of time, and Bars are looking to even it up at 3 apiece. So we'll see how that goes. So that's a tasty one. St. Michael's will face Knocknagree in the senior football championship. The way they have all these weird old levels in Cork. The Galway football final is also on this weekend. Salt Hill Knocknacarroll will beat Moycullen. And Moycullen, the way they beat Mountbellew Moylock shows that they're back for more this year. And John O'Mahony, our old buddy, we had him at the on Pucawn live show there a couple of months ago. He's over Salt Hill Knocknacarroll.
He surely is, yeah. At the sprightly age of 69, you often wonder, what motivates lads to stay going and getting involved. But a lot of time you don't really have a choice. It's just something that you always want to do if the opportunity arises. He obviously had a bit of a health scare a couple of years ago. Thankfully, he's out the other side of that. And I'm sure he wanted at least one more crack at management. And they probably wouldn't have been touted as a finalist. Realistically, at the start of the year, when you have Corofin, Mountbellew, Moylock and Moycullen, sure they were 4th or potentially 5th in the pecking order. They're all the way through to the final. Rob Finnerty, who was a bit of an injury doubt coming into the semi-final, has got through it, and he's been shooting the lights out for them. But just a few words from John O'Mahony. He just says, I'm enjoying it, I really am, but I have a great team behind me, all from within the club, and that was the only condition that I took on, to have the likes of Sean Finian, that's Sean Armstrong, and Finian Hanley, Norman Costello he has involved as well, Des Sheeran and David Burke. All of those lads have been involved either in playing with the lads we have or coaching them at underage level, and really that's the kind of knowledge I needed when I came in. It helped me get my feet under the table, and he just, he's really, really looking forward to the final this weekend. He just said county final day was a long way off last January when we started, but we're there now and we'll see what happens. So Rob Finnerty should be okay to play, but Mikey Cullihan didn't do much training before the semi-final and played, but aggravated the injury he had coming into it. So he's probably a bit of a doubt going into the game. And that was only last week as well. and the nature of having to play in Connacht, which I presume is the weekend after next, means that they have to play this game 7 days after they played their semi-final. So they're probably under a bit of pressure in that regard. But it's like anything. Once the adrenaline gets flowing and it's a county final that they maybe didn't think they were going to be appearing in the start of the year. So I'm sure lads will move hell or high water to play.
Yeah, Ennis Diamond will meet Éire Óg Ennis in the Clare football final, and the Éire Óg lads will be looking to make up for the disappointment of last week's, disappointing loss to Ballyea. Ennis Diamond, I don't think they've ever won it, and they needed a penalty shootout to beat Kilmurray Bricken on the way here. So it's going to be a tasty one, with the Townies, obviously Éire Óg being the only unbeaten team in the championship, and their narrowest win being a 1-point win over Breckens in the opening round. The Fermanagh final is also on, Enniskillen Gales against Ern Gales Balik. So will there be a change of the guard there, with Derry Connolly not being at the final? And then also the Waterford final is on, the Nair against Rathgormack. So both sides going for an 11th county title here. So probably not everyone in the country will be keeping an eye out for the Waterford final. But I think, what is it that they call it? Is it the Cumra El Clasico?
Yeah, I love that. The Cumra Mountains are obviously the mountains down in Waterford, but the Cumra El Clasico is there now. If you want to promote your games, that's what you do. You come up with something creative like that. Like, that's absolutely brilliant. I absolutely love that. And obviously, I was at a Munster final a few years back. I think the Nair played against the Crokes. Now, they were well beaten in it, but there's plenty of quality. Conor Gleeson's a lovely footballer. He's a defender in hurling generally. He's an inside forward or a half forward with the Nair. Jamie Barron is, tailor-made to pop over points just like he does in hurling. So probably be favouring the Nair in that one.
Okay. Well, look, we're just finished up the show there now. I know you want to promote a couple of your things. I have to run away, so I'll let you finish off the show on the Twitter stream there. And thanks everyone else, folks. I'll see you again on Monday.
Good man. Thanks a million, Shane. Just a quick little plug for this before we finish off. We're doing a massive fundraising drive in Burr at the moment. We're doing major redevelopments in St. Brendan's Park. So the last of our events is an online auction with some brilliant prizes, including, as you can see on screen there, stable tour with Willie Mullins. There's a coaching session with the great John Milan. There's also a coaching session with Galway football coach Cian O'Neill. Signed Leinster jersey, signed Osprey jersey, signed picture by Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore. If you go to my Twitter at ML Verney, you'll get the link. Loads of great products that can be picked up there. I'd appreciate a little bid there, even if you don't necessarily want to 100% have the item. Up the bid anyway and force somebody else to pay a little bit more for what are really, really quality prizes. That's all we have on today's show, folks. Delighted you all join us. We'll be back again on Monday for more review of the weekend's action. And until then, we will see you on Monday.